Am I the asshole for threatening to take legal action against my ex-wife's stepdaughter if she doesn't pay for the gift that she broke? So I've been separated from my ex-wife for almost 14 years. She's married now and has 2 stepdaughters. This one involved is the older one, Anna, who is 17, I think. Our older daughter, Diane, is really into calligraphy. My parents gave her a fude, Japanese calligraphy brush, as a gift for having a great school year. We came back from a trip and left them with her mother. I was just getting home when my youngest called me to return. Once there, they were having an argument, and my ex-wife and her wife were trying to mediate. Diane said that Anna stole her brush and broke it. Anna said that she took it with permission from Diane, which is not true. We checked. And she accepted breaking it, but replaced it with another one, a cheap one. My ex-wife and her wife claimed that it was not a big deal, and Anna replaced it. I disagree and told them that either Anna or them have to go order a new one or give the money for us to do it. They were willing to do it until Diane told them how much it would cost, which was $3,000. That is when they flipped the lid and asked why I'm buying something that expensive. I told them that it's none of their business or the point. Besides, it was a gift from my parents, not mine. They refused and said they can't do it without taking a hit in their finances. I told them that I don't care and they need to pay for it, or I would take legal action against Anna since she admitted to taking it and breaking it. I told them to be quick because the brushes are limited. Our daughters decided to come with me and took their important things with them. My ex-wife, her parents, and her wife are blasting my phone, saying that I would ruin Anna's future and that I'm putting our daughters against them and ruin their relationship. We've been co-parenting really well, but I don't know. I think I'm being reasonable, as she's not a kid anymore. And now in the comments, not the asshole. Anna is 17, not 7, almost an adult. She's old enough to know that she shouldn't take something that doesn't belong to her. By the way, I believe that a limited edition brush can cost $3,000. Like, we see Balenciaga charging $1,800 for a trash bag. They are handmade by artisans that have studied to make the brushes their whole life. It is a hair-by-hair process. That is what I thought. It is not mass production, it is art. Not the asshole. If a gift that expensive was broken, then yes, it needs to be replaced correctly. Anna is old enough to know not to take stuff that is not hers. It sounds like Anna is trying to lie to Diane. Diane said that it was taken without permission, while Anna said that she asked for it. Clearly, she didn't ask for it. Definitely take them to court if they don't buy another one. And now, onto the update. I never thought that this would get so much attention. I'm still going through the comments, but I'm going to clarify a few points and give you an update. Why did Diane bring the brush to her mother's place? She has a neighbor friend whose hobby is painting. Diane's friend has a nice brush collection, and she took it to show it to her. Why did she leave the brush at her mother's? She stays a week at a time with her mother. She has left other valuable things, either sentimental or monetary, and nothing has happened until now. Why did I allow her to move it around? It has to do with how my parents raised me. You are the one in charge of your stuff, no one else. You are the one who puts the value in them. That is why I have always let my daughters do as they want with their things. The same way my parents taught my siblings and I. She understands this kind of brush is not something to just play with. She agrees that she was careless, as she wasn't planning to use it, but to start her own collection, the same way her friend and I do. I can't blame her though. She was comfortable with them, and there was no precedent. The relationship with their stepfamily? They are not close, but they are civil. They never clicked, but they agreed to respect each other and their things. How did we find out that Anna lied? Simple. When she said she got permission via text, I asked her to show us. My ex and her mother asked her for her phone, and she could have lied, but she folded. She said that she took it and broke it, but she didn't say why. The price. My ex knew the price, but not her wife. Both knew that it was a gift from my parents. My ex decided to play dumb because she didn't tell her wife about the price. For the doubters, I understand because not many are interested in handwriting or calligraphy. Brushes and pens can cost hundreds or even thousands because they are made with limited or rare materials by a craftsman with decades of experience. It is an art in itself. You can Google it if you can or want. The brush. I need to talk to my parents and see if they still have the receipt so I can contact the manufacturers and see what can be done. My hopes are slim to none. To say the brush is broken is to put it mildly. It basically has to be remade. This is what transpired yesterday. We returned home and we talked after they calmed down. I asked them if I was missing something or if something changed, etc. They said everything was pretty much the same, but Diane and Lily said that they might know the reason why Anna did it. During the week that they stayed with their mother, Anna said to all of them that her boyfriend's birthday was coming up and she wanted to gift him something special. She asked my youngest, let's call her Lily, with everyone present, if she could play the guitar while she sang a song to him, and Lily refused. Lily says that Anna took it well and didn't make a big deal of it. And then, 2 days before I picked them up, Anna asked Diane if she could make a big poster, and Diane refused. But unlike Lily, she offered for her to do something small. Diane says that Anna declined her offer and didn't make a big deal of it. Why they refused? The boyfriend's birthday was when they were going to be on a trip with me, last week, and they both told Anna about it. I then asked them if they knew about the finances of her mother. They said she's still working. Also, her and her wife were definitely not struggling. That's why both of them are mad at her mother, because she or her wife could have paid for the brush. They don't understand why she acted like that. Knowing this, I asked her what she wanted to do. She listened to my threat, and I told her that I meant it. I was going to buy the brush and force them to pay me back. She asked me to wait and see what they do in the next few days. So this is what happened today. I received 2 calls early in the morning, one from ex-wife and the other from Anna's father asking to meet. Anna's father came first. He said his youngest daughter called him and told him what had happened. Him and I talked for a little bit, and by the look of it, there are bigger issues at play. The man apologized to Diane for Anna's behavior and paid for the brush. The rest came after. Anna apologized first and said why she did it. She took that brush instead of another out of revenge. She tried to use it to do the poster for her boyfriend, and because she's not as good as her, she destroyed it in a fit of rage. Once calm, she saw her mistake and looked for another one online. She saw how much it cost and decided to buy a cheap one. She never told anyone what she did until Diane returned. Anna's mother apologized to Diane and also Lily. They both left after that. My wife remained. She apologized to Diane and Lily and said that she acted the way she did because this could kill the little to none relationship they have as sisters, but the result was worse and she regrets it. Diane and Lily told her that everything could be fine if they paid for the brush and apologized right then and there. She could have ended with one upset daughter, but now she has 3. They said that now they don't feel secure there and have no plans to return. My ex-wife said that she was going to do anything to solve it, and she proposed family therapy again, but both of them refused. They said that they could meet somewhere else, but at least not for now. They left us alone. We talk mostly about logistics and a few things that I wanted to confirm. Lastly, I talked with my daughters again, and both are still pretty upset. The relationship with her mother took a major hit, and they are not happy with how it was resolved, and neither was I. Alas. We're going to see my parents in the upcoming days. Diane wants to talk with them about money before buying another brush. Thank you for taking your time. I tried to cover as much as I could, but I will try to answer if you have some questions. And they just didn't answer any questions. That's cool. Now in the comments, your ex royally mishandled the situation and drove away her daughters. My older sister borrowed, with permission, my iPod in high school. Water spilled in her bag and it shorted out. I wasn't mad at her and I understood that it was an accident, but I was upset by it. When we told my dad, he made sure that my sister knew that if we couldn't get it replaced under warranty, then she was going to pay to replace it. My dad taught both of us a lesson in doing that, and additionally, my dad reaffirmed that my feelings mattered and my belongings have value. I'm glad father stepped up and acted responsibly over his daughter's actions. Also, questioning why the daughter received such an expensive gift in the first place should never have happened. The question should have been the other daughter. Why are you touching things without knowing their worth? I have a brother that's an artist, and it bothers me when people act like it's ridiculous that he owns expensive tools, and his fault if something happens to them. I don't understand that attitude. Quote, said that she acted the way she did because this could kill the little to none relationship they have as sisters. Yes, because the one thing that everyone knows about siblings and step-siblings is that showing obvious favoritism to one of them by not punishing them for breaking another one's extremely expensive possessions is guaranteed to make everyone get along better. Ex-wife can't even give an honest apology. She acted the way she did because she chose her wife and stepdaughter over her own daughter. It had nothing to do with preserving their sisterly bond, it was all about preserving her own bond with her new wife. Yeah, I'm thinking this isn't the first incident. The way it feels is that this was the straw that broke the camel's back for the two daughters. And even if it wasn't, this relationship is doomed anyway now. Mother's reactions made sure of that. I hope that they'll be okay with only having one of them visit the old folks' home in their twilight years. Am I the asshole for threatening to evict my estranged dad and his family from the house that they currently live in? For some background, my parents divorced when I was 10 because dad quit his job and refused to work so that he can gamble and drink all day. Our country has crappy laws about child support, so mum had to support my sister and me on her own. Growing up, I tried reconnecting with my dad, but it felt like all effort to reconcile was from me. So I eventually gave up and I minimized contact. I kept in touch with dad's side of the family, his siblings and my cousins. I have a good relationship with them. Fast forward to now, my sister and I are living comfortable lives. Our parents remarried, my mum married a nice man and they live overseas. 5 years ago, dad married a girl who was the same age as my younger sister. She was horrible. Whenever my sister would reach out to our dad, she would get pissed and accuse my sister of trying to steal him. They have a son, and I've been nice to him. But because our dad's wife continued her rotten streak, my sister and I decided to cut ties with them. Dad's mum died last year. A few months ago, my aunt, dad's older sister, who's in charge of her parents' assets, called to tell us about our grandmother's will. Our grandfather is also dead, by the way. All of our grandparents' assets have been divided among grandkids, and I got my grandparents' house, the house where my father and his family live. Since I live miles away from the said house and have no plans of moving there, my aunt suggested that I sell it and keep the money for myself. My aunt was pretty insistent that I sell the house because she said that it's what my grandmother would want. My dad neglected her during the last years of her life and put her in a home. He also sold her burial lot to buy drugs. So I agreed to sell the house since it's my inheritance after all. I haven't sold the house yet, but I called my dad to tell him about it so that he can start looking for a house. I wanted to give him a heads up, and I told them they can stay as long as I don't have a buyer yet. My dad was obviously not pleased, but he didn't argue. Meanwhile, his wife got angry and called to scream at me, saying I was being selfish and that I didn't need the house. She let slip that her parents and siblings also live there, so basically they are freeloading off it. She tried to make me feel guilty because now they have to rent. I ignored her, and then she went on harassing me via text and calling me names. At this point, I got pissed, so I told her that if she doesn't stop harassing me, I will have them evicted ASAP, even if no one is buying the house yet. My dad found out, and he told me that I was an asshole to his wife. His siblings found out, and they had my back. They said that his wife was never nice to them, and apparently, she's the one who persuaded my dad to remove my grandmother from her own house and put her in an elderly home so her own family can move in. Am I the asshole? Personally, no. Like, from everything I'm hearing here, they just sound like pieces of crap. I can definitely understand the family aspect and how you want to look after him, even though he's a terrible human. At the end of the day, I don't think you're the asshole for evicting your estranged dad and his family, because as you say, it's your house now, you're the one that owns it, you can do whatever you want. Don't let freeloaders get the best of you, so I'm gonna go not the asshole. And now in the comments, not the asshole. First of all, best to get a lawyer and let any and all future contact go through them. Second, don't let them guilt trip or persuade you. There is the other option that maybe you keep the house and rent it out to them, but I doubt they'll pay you rent, and it will probably be a lot of work and trouble, not to mention the condition the house might be in should they leave in a few years. So while that would be an option, I would stick to your original plan of selling it. The whole rest of his family backs you up, so you don't need to be afraid of backlash from them for selling their parents' home. The only one who will cause you trouble will be your dad and his wife, but it sounds like that will be an issue either way, so best not to keep them around. Wish you all the luck and a long breath. This will be a battle, but it sounds like you have the support on your side. Keep us updated. And OP replies, thanks for this advice. I actually thought about renting it out to them, but there is already a lot of bad blood. I doubt they'd take good care of the place. But yeah, looks like the first step really is to get a lawyer. I feel like it will be a long process, mostly because I live miles away. Last time I visited was roughly 7 years ago. It is an old house, and I doubt my dad did anything to improve it, knowing how lazy he is. Look, I do not recommend renting it to them unless you want to be embroiled in this mess long term. Lawyer up, sell the house, and move on with your life. If this was a family member that you had a close relationship to, or people that cared about you or your well-being, I would feel totally different, by the way. Not the asshole. Also, you should kick them out before trying to find a buyer, so you can clean it up, and they can't jeopardize any potential buyer. My thoughts exactly. They are surely gonna trash the place. Not the asshole. First, make sure the house title is in your name, and then hire an attorney to help you evict these people from the house. And OP says, the transfer is being processed. It is a long process, but all documents seem to be in order. My aunt is taking care of all of this since there are multiple properties being transferred to the grandkids. Not sure where you're located, but once it is transferred to you, look into homeowners insurance in case there is an accidental fire or other major issue. And now on to the update. The past week was exhausting, both physically and mentally, but here's an update. Following most of the advice here, I decided to have them evicted as soon as I could. A couple of days after my post, I flew to my parents' hometown, where the house was. I decided to stay for a week. I asked my best friend for moral support, so he flew in the next day. My aunt was able to get me in touch with her lawyer there, who gave me the papers that I needed to establish ownership of the house. She also got me in touch with the local police. My aunt is out of the country, so she couldn't be there. In my country, there are laws protecting squatters, and they can actually dispute being evicted. So I spoke to the cops and asked for help in case things get ugly. It's a small town where people know everybody. They know how much of an asshole my dad was, and Grandma was highly respected in our town because she used to be an educator. It didn't take a lot of convincing for them to agree to help. I contacted the old caretaker of the house, whom my dad fired. I asked her to accompany me. I also did some digging for information. Apparently the wife and her family have a house, but mine was bigger and nicer. 2 days after I flew in, I went to the house with my best friend, the caretaker, and a couple of cops to give my dad and the freeloaders a 3-day notice. As expected, Dad's wife made a scene and became hysterical because they would be homeless. Called me heartless, ungrateful, cruel, etc. My dad was passive. He acted the same way when my mum kicked him out. Didn't argue, but also never admitted his faults. He said he wouldn't wait for 3 days and would leave the next day. He told me that I was an ungrateful daughter and that I would get my karma. A lot of people here advise me to make sure they wouldn't steal stuff, but I honestly don't care about the stuff. I told them they can take what they need, except for a few pieces of furniture, the hardwood and antique ones that Grandma loved. It would make cleaning up easier. Come eviction day, I didn't speak to them. I just watched as they hauled their stuff onto a truck, paid the caretaker to clean the house in the next days, and told her she can have whatever she wanted from the house. Grandma would have approved. I had the locks changed, installed extra locks, chained the gates, cut contact with my dad and his wife. The next step, the selling. I'm planning to sell it below market value just to get it over with, and that's that. I still have a lot to do in terms of selling the house, but at least the drama is over. I'm tired, but relieved. Thank you to everyone here who gave me advice. And now in the comments, I'm glad to hear this went smoothly for you and you did the right thing. My sympathies to you. The way he treated his own mother is absolutely disgusting. I get that some elderly people really do need the round-the-clock care that a home can provide, but how out of it could she have been? She clearly knew what she was doing when she gave you the house. And OP replies, thanks. His mother had Alzheimer's, but he didn't need to take care of her. He was never obliged to. She had a personal nurse, so yeah, the way he treated her was really disgusting. This comment, the one that you responded to above, is really important. Don't let yourself feel guilty because your dad called you ungrateful. Grateful means that someone has done something positive to or for you, and it doesn't sound like you have a whole lot to be grateful to your dad about. Also, it's wild that he treated you, his mum, the caretaker, everyone like crap, and then has the nerve to call you ungrateful. You should try to get market value for it. The hard part is already over. Sell it short and you'll regret it later. Edit, even if it's hard, just think of your grandmother and do it for her. Maximize her gift to you and build a great life with the proceeds. And OP says, I would need to think it over and check with an agent what the market value will be. It's a nice house, but properties in that area are more affordable compared to other parts/cities in the country. Of course, the housekeeper would get incentives. I've known her since I was a kid. She has been with the family for as long as I can remember, and how my dad treated her after removing my grandma was foul. Understandable. Selling a property, even under normal circumstances, is no small thing, let alone with everything that has happened. It's worth taking a beat to process before pulling the trigger. You owe it to yourself to take all the time you need to be sure that you are confident in what you are doing. A competent agent can certainly help. I'm sure they deal with a lot of transactions that carry emotional baggage. Dad is going to be shocked when his wife puts him in an elder's home down the line. He isn't thinking about how she was A-okay doing this to other people, then she would have no qualms doing it to him. He might enjoy the respite from her. Bad decisions bring consequences, even if they take years to get to you. OP's dad is just getting what he deserves for being a crap parent. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for hiding my daughter's autism from her? So pretty much most of her life, our daughter, 14 female, had various issues. She had a speech delay, didn't make eye contact, was extremely hyperactive, had trouble making friends, fidgeted a lot, was extremely strict with rules, and a whole bunch of other stuff. My wife and I suspected that she may be autistic, and we took her to a psychologist when she was 4. The psychologist diagnosed her with hyperactivity disorder, although we don't know if it coexists with her autism or if it was a misdiagnosis. From the ages of 8 to 11, we gave our daughter as much early intervention as possible. She had seen behavioral and speech therapists. She was able to speak, but had a speech impediment. I've given her various books about how to make and keep friends. At that point, she was a bookworm. We got her placed in a social class to help her build social skills. It wasn't until the end of her 4th grade year that she actually got diagnosed with autism. Her psychologist was excited to tell her, but my wife was against it. She wanted to wait until we felt our daughter was old enough to understand. We are aware of the stigma neurodivergent people experience, and she didn't want our daughter to go through that. I agreed to hide it from her until she reached adulthood. This next part is relevant. When our daughter got into grade 6, she was bullied due to her autistic traits. She was gaslit, taken advantage of, had many false friends who backstabbed her, and it made our daughter insecure about her poor social skills. And that was when she started to mask. It left her with such immense trauma that she still has triggers and is in therapy. Today, she came to us and asked, "What's autism?" And we told her it's a different way of thinking. She was confused since she didn't know we meant it in a sense that autistic people have different brain chemistry from neurotypicals. After we elaborated, she told us the reason why she asked. She found out that she is autistic. She apparently found some of her old medical records lying around and read them out of curiosity. She was upset and asked how we could hide this from her. We explained that we wanted to tell her when she was older since we didn't want her to get hurt by other people. She angrily yelled that she did get hurt anyways. She said that all this time she thought there was something wrong with her, but if it weren't for us, she wouldn't have taken the bullying to heart and she would have felt differently, but instead, we made her pain worse. Now she's in her room crying and refuses to speak to either of us. We're starting to wonder if we should have told her about her autism when we knew. And now in the comments, as the parent of an autistic and ADHD teenager, with all due respect, you're the asshole. Get some therapy appointments for yourself to figure out why the hell you thought that was a good idea. Why didn't you ask a child psychologist how to handle the news if you couldn't figure it out yourself? It's not too late to fix this. Let your child know that you made a mistake, apologize, and work together to make things right. You're the asshole. As an autistic person, this is disgusting. How would not telling your daughter protect her? People are not mean to people because they are autistic. It's because being autistic makes us different and people hate different. Learning I was autistic saved my life because I could get accommodations at school, because I could research ways to make my life easier now that I knew why I was different, because it helped me find a community of others like me who could help me because they understood me. Knowing I'm autistic helped me advocate for myself. I could help myself now that I understood why I was different. Knowing I was autistic protected me from toxic and abusive relationships because I understood that I was missing social cues and could research and learn to read others better. You stripped your daughter of her right to understand herself. It could have killed her. Before I knew that I was autistic, my life was hell. I thought being alive was torture for everyone, and we all just pretended we were fine. Is it not? You are a terrible parent. You're the asshole. Please apologize to your daughter. Apologize a lot. What you did is incredibly damaging and traumatic. She will likely never fully trust you again, and then, if she gives you permission, work with her therapist to help her understand how her autism works and get her the support that she needs to navigate a world that was not designed for her. And now on to the update. Her mother and I were completely in the wrong. We should never have tried to hide an integral part of our daughter's identity. We thought that we were just protecting her, but we only made it worse. I didn't know that it wasn't right at the time, but now I do. We come from a country where mental stuff isn't talked about. If anything, the person gets stigmatized for it. So we did our best to support our daughter with what we knew at the time. This isn't to excuse our actions, but rather to explain them. A few hours after posting my original post, her mother and I had a long talk about this, reflecting on what we did wrong and what we should do moving forward. I gave her space for a day or two before knocking on her door and asking her if she wanted to talk with me about it. I apologized for what we did, telling her that we love her no matter what, and promised that we would be better parents moving forward. She says that she understands that we were just trying to do what we thought was best for her, but she felt hurt that we kept these things from her, especially given what happened to her and having to find out from medical records of all things. She says that she isn't sure if she could trust us again for a while. Our daughter is still angry with us, although we understand why. She is at least on speaking terms with us again. We are doing our best to help our daughter through her journey of self-discovery at the moment. We got her another therapist to help her understand more about herself, as well as accept the past bullying. Her mother and I are also doing research about how autism works, and we're looking to get her an IEP at her school to give her access to accommodations. In addition to this, we took some of your advice, and her mother and I have been seeking therapy to better understand our autistic daughter, as well as family therapy. Thank you all for your judgment. Thanks to those who gave tips on how to support our daughter moving forward. I feel ashamed that I didn't realize sooner that I had harmed our daughter. She seems happier now that she understands why she is the way she is. We fiercely love our girl and are lucky to have her. And now in the comments, That's awesome, man. This is what this sub should be. A place where we can encourage each other to be better people. Thanks for the update and good luck going forward. Seriously, while I love any and all updates, I have a special place in my heart for the people who were judged assholes and who read through all the comments and learned stuff. It is so easy to get defensive or angry about it, and it does take strength to accept thousands of people calling you an asshole. I really respect when someone can accept their judgment and become a better person for it. I'm one of the people who commented on the original about being diagnosed late in life. I'm glad you're accepting responsibility, but it really is on you and your wife right now to follow through. Therapy is great, but you are going to need to fight for her and really advocate for her. My experience with education, albeit in a different country, is that even when you clearly should get accommodations due to special educational needs, you may have to fight hard for them and face resistance, / it may not be an easy path for you or her. Also, just a heads up that your daughter might mask less after discovering her diagnosis. It is not uncommon, and I mask a lot less with close friends and at home because I no longer feel obligated to try to appear NT. For me, it is an incredibly positive thing to mask less, but I know that it was a little adjustment for those around me who were used to me masking. While I'm glad you two apologized, the real work is now about to begin. Be there for her if her IEP brings about noticeable accommodations, because middle schoolers and high schoolers don't have the most empathy with people with visible help in academics. If she starts dating while a minor in your care, please do not talk to her as if she cannot understand what consent is. I was diagnosed with PDD and OS over 20 years ago and recently had the urge to get reevaluated in order to see if now I would have my diagnosis changed to autism itself. I ended up cancelling it out of fear of the regional center using this as a reason to drop my case, but I googled it. A lot of former titles are now just put under the same branch. I know who I am, it's okay. Good luck to her and you guys. Am I the asshole for interrogating my wife after she hid her extra income? So me and my wife have been married for 7 years. We have 2 kids, 4 female and 2 female. My wife is a stay-at-home mother after our first daughter, as there was lots of complications with her pregnancy. I make just enough money, and my income goes to a joint bank account, and my wife makes the budget. Our house is my wife's grandmother's and was built in the 80s, so we are redoing it little by little, and money is always tight, but we make it work. After our second daughter, my wife doesn't have complications anymore. Even the problems from the first pregnancy went away. So we are doing better financially for the past year, and have started a college fund for the kids. My wife started a vegetable and fruits farm in our yard and roof, and is extremely good at it. She made a lot of money out of it. And to the issue now. A few days ago, I woke up early one morning and saw my wife putting the little one in the stroller and leaving. I tried to call her, but she couldn't hear me. After she left, I opened the tab to see her location, but she left her phone at home and there was no way of contacting her. I saw a message from the bank about a deposit in her account, which I didn't know she had. She came back at around 7, which is when I usually wake up. What struck me wrong was she came in through the back door and told me that she was in the backyard. I started asking her why she was lying and that I saw her leaving the house at 4 in the morning, and what is that extra money she deposited in her account? She denied it, and we had some back and forth, and I was getting late for work, so I left. When I came back, she acted like nothing happened, and I started asking her questions about where she went again. She got angry and told me I'm an asshole for interrogating her, and she doesn't have to tell me about her whereabouts. I was shocked, as this is the first time I've ever heard her talk like this or raise her voice. Even the kids were shocked. I didn't say anything afterwards, and she's still angry and hasn't talked to me. Am I the asshole for questioning her? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. I started asking her questions without any consideration for her. I kept pushing even after I knew that she didn't want to answer. 2. I have never questioned my wife, and maybe I shouldn't have started asking her right after she came in and obviously looked very worn out. For my opinion on this one, I think it's fair that you give yourself those judgments here, But when you smell smoke, I do think it's smart to go looking for the fire. I don't think you were questioning her without any consideration for her. I think you're trying to consider where the hell she was. I don't think you have to consider her feelings in this situation. And that second point that you've never questioned your wife, and maybe you shouldn't have started asking her questions, just because you've never questioned her on things like this because it sounds like you've not had reason to, doesn't mean that you're an asshole for now questioning her. So to wrap things up, I don't think you're an asshole for your actions here. I think she's made some very questionable choices in my opinion and has not backed them up. So I'm gonna go not the asshole. And now in the comments, I'm gonna go with not the asshole because if my partner suddenly started acting like that, I'd be suspicious too and I'd ask for answers. However, I want to suggest something you might not have thought. As a woman, I was taught to have a separate bank account from my partner, which held emergency funds. This account should be kept secret and the amount should not be disclosed to my partner. This is because historically, a lot of women have stayed in bad, even dangerous situations because they were financially dependent on their partner. Women have died in situations like this. So many women are taught to have secret emergency funds. If this is the case for your wife, please try to understand that it isn't about you. It doesn't mean she thinks you'd hurt her or leave her, and it doesn't mean she plans on leaving you. But there's a sense of safety and security that comes with knowing you have an escape route if, God forbid, it is ever needed. Again, I have no idea if that is the case with your wife, but it might be. And in that case, I wouldn't ask any more questions. Just let her have her safety net, even if you don't think she needs one. Edit, I put this in a comment but wanted to add it here to avoid further confusion. I said not the arsehole because I agree that he was right to question her. That behavior was shady, but a lot of people don't consider the fact that some women are taught to have secret bank accounts. Honestly, I'm like 80% sure she's hiding the money for more nefarious reasons, but on the off chance that she's not, I simply wanted to offer another perspective. I don't care about the account. I'd be more worried about her taking your kid out at 4 AM and not telling you where she's taking the kid. That is a red flag to me. We always discuss our children and where we take them. Honestly, not the asshole. You are asking legitimate questions, and she is lying to you. It's not like it's an unfounded accusation, you saw her do it. And OP says, yeah, but it looks like she doesn't want to answer. My doubt is, should I have left it at that instead of pushing? No, you don't do what she did to your spouse. If it was nothing, she would have answered. You might want to hire a private investigator and find out. The fact that she hasn't talked to you in days is even more troubling. Not the asshole. And where was she at 4 AM? And OP says, I don't know, she hasn't talked to me in days. Something's up. You need marital counseling. She has caused trust issues, and something is making her not want to be honest. Your relationship is in serious trouble. You need to get to the bottom of this ASAP. It sounds like there's a chance she's having an affair. You have to look into this. I really hope she is not involving your child in something horrifying. But the fact that it's in the middle of the night, she takes the baby, she is getting extra money, and she doesn't take her phone and then her reaction makes me worried for the baby. And OP says, I woke up 2 days ago at 4 to see where she was going, and she saw me and left the youngest with me and then left. Didn't say a word. And now onto the update. Thank you everyone for your replies. After work I bought a whole cheesecake and Fanta, her favorite combo, and I talked to her. After dinner, I went up to her and said sorry that I interrogated her and was pushy, and that I don't have any doubts, only concerns. She smiled and gave me a kiss, and said we'll talk after the kids went to bed. She said at first when she started gardening, she was selling her produce in the neighborhood. But when the production increased, she started selling to wholesalers, and the neighbors want fresh vegetables, so she started setting up a garden for the neighbors in their backyard, and she has done that for 8 neighbors. She usually takes the youngest as she needs mom as soon as she wakes up. Usually she gets a significant amount to set up a garden, and then a regular maintenance charge. She has been adding the setup money in her account individually. She didn't tell me about it because, as lots of people guessed, it was for a surprise gift. Before I met my wife, there was a weird obsession in my family about a very expensive brand watch. My dad's dream is to own one. He died when I was 20, and for a while, I wanted to be super rich and have that watch by my age now. I've told my wife about it in the initial stage of dating, so she was saving up for it, but she was hesitant to buy a watch that expensive without talking to me. She didn't want me to think that I'm not worthy of expensive watches. She wanted to surprise me, but also wanted to talk about it. I told her I don't want the watch, I want to maybe start a retirement fund. But before that, we need a vacation. She agreed quickly to that. I showed her this post and she read through all the comments and said, if 100 people tell you to get a paternity test and that made me want one, I can, and there's a hospital down the street. I don't want it. We agreed on going for counseling though. There was a lot of concern about tracking her location, but we both have our phones synced to the tab and it started when she was sick. If she was feeling sick, she would press SOS and wait for me. I need her location access to get to her, and then she started using it to ask me to buy stuff on my way home. So it was agreed by both of us, and we can easily turn off location if we want privacy. About the lying, she wasn't exactly lying. There is no fence between the houses in our lane, and she was in our backyard for the past half hour. I didn't check. I checked after she left, but she went to the neighbor's backyard through their front door. She didn't want to answer my questions because of the way that I asked her. She wanted me to apologize for my tone before she tells me about it. It's all good now. We are going to spend the whole day together and I'm not going to work today. And now in the comments, wow, the best possible outcome. So uncommon and refreshing here. How big is her garden that she sells wholesale? This is definitely possible. There are a lot of niche organic products that can command a premium. Things like heirloom varieties, specialty flowers, etc. Many new farmers struggle to buy or rent land, so they focus their output in super small plots of land for luxury markets, as opposed to the more well-known model of large-scale farming for mass markets. It's actually pretty common. I'm sorry, a whole cheesecake and a bottle of Fanta are her favorite things to eat? Asking the real questions here. Breastfeeding cravings are absurd and more aggressive than pregnancy cravings, but never talked about. Well, at least he didn't turn out to be an abuser, like some people were insisting. OP, if you read this, in a healthy, normal relationship, it is perfectly fine and benign to share locations. It only becomes abusive if one party uses it to control and stalk the other party. Other than that, it's just a tool that facilitates your daily routines. No need to change anything. And kudos to your wife for being so enterprising. Shared locations being turned on literally saved my mum's life. When I couldn't get a hold of her, I searched her location to see where she was. She was driving back from her country farm and hit a deer out in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know that, just that her car was stopped on a sparse country lane 25 miles from home. I called the local sheriff and then headed out myself. Got there just in time to see her being loaded into an ambulance and unconscious. Had she waited much longer, I know she wouldn't have made it. Our next post is titled, "The couple, 28 female and 35 male, that I'm dating, wants me, 24 female, to get an abortion, and I don't know what to do." Hey y'all, I'm not sure if this is the best sub for this, but I just don't know who to talk to about this. I've been seeing this couple for over a year now. At first I would babysit for them, and then they asked if I'd hook up with them, and long story short, we started dating, and I moved in with them. I don't work, so I take care of the kids with the wife, but she's pregnant, so it's mainly me. They treat me well and take care of me. I honestly loved them both, although he is very bossy. I enjoy hooking up with the both of them together and separately, but I am now finding out that he was to use condoms at all times. The thing is, I remember at least 3 times that it was just us two, and he didn't, but promised he would pull out. I know I'm at fault for letting it happen, but it's hard to tell him no. Now that I found out I'm pregnant, he's denying it and says he's always used condoms. He's saying that I got pregnant the one weekend I was away to see my mom. I didn't sleep with anyone, and it was 4 months ago. Anyway, now they want me to get an abortion because they have their 4th baby on the way, which is due in June, and they said that they still want to be with me, but can't afford to have another baby right now. I don't know how to feel because I love them, and no one has ever made me feel this loved. Things were going so well, and I don't want to lose what we have, but at the same time I'm scared that I won't ever get pregnant again due to a family history of infertility issues. I don't know what to do or how to make a decision. Any advice, please? My advice would probably be to leave before things get worse. I mean, sure, you can try and talk it out if you want, but it doesn't seem like a healthy relationship dynamic going on there. And that's not to say that ethical non-monogamy is unhealthy. I'm just saying that this specific situation doesn't seem like it's going towards a happy ending. Seems like there are lies, mistrust, and resentment bubbling up to the surface currently, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be a fun ending here. And now in the comments, I speak as someone who has been in a triad, which is a 3-person relationship. This dynamic is not a healthy one. I'm judging this based off information given by you. They are using you as a fill-in for their failings as a couple. He isn't following the condom rule and is trying to avoid backlash from the wife by saying you slept with someone else. In a real triad relationship, there is no hierarchy putting their marriage above you. You should be equal in all aspects to them, but you aren't. A beaten path to follow that they've laid out for you. What you do with the baby is up to you, not either of them. Whether to stay or go is also up to you. But I hope that you find your worth and take care of yourself. First of all, if you decide to have this baby, I would expect to be a single mom. It's clear they are not interested in raising the child with you. You are entitled to child support, but you will probably not be allowed to live with them, and it wouldn't be positive for the child anyway if he is already denying parentage. So you'll need to find a job and a place to stay. Do you have any family support? And second, this arrangement is overdue to end whether you want to keep the baby or not. You're in a very vulnerable position with them, and they are using you for free childcare and convenient sex. There is clearly a power disparity that isn't healthy, and he is flat out lying and accusing you of things that you know aren't true in order to shirk his parental responsibility. Massive, glaring issues here. If you have anyone you trust outside of them to talk to, I would speak to them about this situation so you can at least wrap your head around it and get some support. OP, this is a super toxic environment. You feel like you're in love with these people. You are not. You are comfortable and you are being used. You are an unpaid live-in nanny who they have sex with when they want to. You are disposable. This is a toxic environment for you, their children, and your forthcoming child. There is nothing good or healthy here, even if it sometimes feels good in the moment. As far as having an abortion, that's a choice that you need to make. Are you emotionally, physically, and financially ready to have a child? Is this man going to be a good father to your child? Can you co-parent well with these people? Is this what you want out of life? Baby or no, this doesn't sound healthy for you. If you do decide to have this baby, model a healthy lifestyle and positive behaviors for your kid. And now onto the update. Well, you guys were right. I terminated my pregnancy over a week ago and found out today that they are breaking up with me. They didn't even want to explain why. They just said that they are doing what's best for their marriage. I didn't even get to say goodbye to the kids. They basically kicked me out and refused to answer my questions. I want to be so upset, but I'm just hurt and sad. I thought people here were being extra and just didn't understand our relationship, but I guess you were right. What do I do with myself now? What do I do with my life? I can't go back to my mom's. I can't go back to college. I can't go back to them. I have no one to talk to. I basically have nothing to live for now. Hell, I don't even know where I'm gonna live. I don't know where to go from here. I feel so stupid, but I guess I did this to myself, and this is what I get. And now in the comments, as a mum of 2 girls, they may do some of the dumbest crap on the planet multiple times, but no matter what, they can always come home. No matter how frustrating it is for me to hear of it, it is their decisions to make. As long as you learn from the past and do better for yourself, your mum will be there. That's what we are here for, to love you shitheads, and I say this with as much love as a mother can give, unconditionally. Good luck. I remember your post. Why can't you go back to your mother's? And OP says, because it is just another thing I failed at. I'm always just another problem for her to deal with when she already has so much on her plate. I never make her proud, I constantly mess up. Hi, internet mum here. I don't know your mum, but I would be relieved my daughter got out of a bad situation and was safe at home again. I would be horrified to see my child suffer at any age. Instead of assuming her reaction, give her a chance. I wish I could give you a great big hug. I feel incredibly bad for OP. Seems like her mom was abusive, and then this couple used her as a sex nanny until things got too real, and then dumped her. This is more common than one would think too. Nothing like predatory frickin' unicorn hunters. Thanks for saying this. So many unicorn hunters are just the worst and get downright manipulative. Then they also used her for free childcare. Disgusting. I am sure disgusted how the husband was lying about using condoms and tried to just say OP was sleeping around. So predatory in so many ways. I wish there was a bit more awareness about this stuff. Too often it just gets dismissed as being anti-poly when it's not about the poly bit. It's about the this is manipulative, unhealthy, and toxic. Like how OP wrote off kind advice about how toxic this unbalanced triad was as folks just being bigots that didn't understand. There is nothing bigoted about acknowledging the fact that the more people involved in a relationship that involves sex or living together, the higher chance there is for issues and problems. Especially when one couple is already long established with their own pre-formed rules they expect the new third to follow. Lots of chances for imbalance and hierarchy that results in pressure or hurt. Age gaps bring in even more issues. Everyone needs to be incredibly emotionally mature for it to work, and even then, it is still a lot of work and empathy to maintain. Too many couples jump to inviting a third without thinking things through, especially when one person is doing it to make the other person happy, or they go into it with a million expectations and rules, but only for the new addition to follow. Our next post is titled, How can I, 27 female, get my boyfriend, 31 male, of 2 years, to stop digging his tunnel? So I know this is a weird question, but my boyfriend likes to spend a lot of his free time digging a tunnel on some property that he inherited. I haven't seen the full extent of it, but last I saw, it was remarkably deep under the surface. He has spent roughly a year on it, and it's evident. The front of the thing is deep, wide, well put together. At the front, which is the only part that I've seen, he's got cement beams, electric lights, even chairs and a small table. I haven't gone into it, but it looked like the quality severely dropped as the tunnel went further, mostly becoming open dirt with some wood beams holding it up. My biggest concern is his safety. I'm really worried that he's going to dig too deep and it'll collapse on him or something. I've tried voicing this concern to him, but he just laughs it off and assures me that he'll be fine. Aside from the safety concerns, there's also the fact that he doesn't really have a social life because of this thing. I'm pretty much the only person he still talks to outside of his job, and he doesn't go out and do anything anymore. It used to be that he'd occasionally head out and do some digging on the weekends, but now he spends almost all of his free time out there. He still comes home, but he barely spends any time with me, and I know he isn't doing anything but digging that damn hole in the ground. This can't be good for his mental health, but I don't know how to convince him to stop. He's always really happy when he comes back from digging, which is why I haven't seriously tried to stop him before, but I was talking to a friend about him, and she told me he might be going crazy. Obviously, I don't think he's insane, but I hadn't considered the mental aspect of this, and I just don't know what to do. OP, is your boyfriend's name Gimli by chance? Check if he's not wearing one of the 7 dwarven rings of power and is digging down to go find a Balrog down there, because that would suck. There was also this video I watched at one point where some guy contracted 2 people to help him dig a hole under his house, and then a fire started and those 2 people died of smoke inhalation. Seems like there's way more cons than pros in situations like this. I do think you need to convince him to stop digging the hole. I would be worried for his physical and mental health also. This seems very unhealthy. And now in the comments, why is he digging the tunnel? Is this like a survivalist thing, like a bunker? I feel like why he's building the tunnel would be important when considering how you might approach him taking a break from it or chilling out a bit with it. At first I was gonna say this is just his weird hobby and you might have to put up with it, but if digging this tunnel is starting to interfere with the rest of his life, that's a bad sign. You said that it used to be a weekend thing and now it's all the time. When did that change? Did something happen around that time that might have triggered something in him? And also, is there anyone else in his life aside from you that he might listen to? Sit him down and tell him, I want you to really listen to me. I'm worried about how much time you're spending on the tunnel. It's affecting the rest of your life. Give specific times or ways in which it is done so. Is everything okay? Prepare for all possible outcomes to the convo. It's unlikely he'll just say, yeah babe, you're right, I'll stop. He will be resistant. Maybe ask if he's willing to compromise at, let's say, 8 hours a week of tunneling, or that he will leave 2 nights a week open for you and him, no tunneling. Or that he'll at least put in some more safety measures so he doesn't get hurt in there. Think about what would help you and him. Also, think about what you will do if this doesn't improve or change. Because if it doesn't, that means you have to make a choice about how this will affect your own life. Good luck. Well, I dated someone who is a recovering meth addict, and the number one thing he liked to do when he was high was dig his tunnel. That Breaking Bad episode where the dude's just digging a hole and it attracts the other meth heads, lol. What are you doing? Digging. Why? You know why. Not gonna lie, this is one of the strangest things that I've read on this sub. That being said, is he addicted to meth? Meth heads love a marathon tunnel dig. And now on to the update. Alright, so I've spoken with my boyfriend, and after a good long chat, I can successfully say, mission accomplished. I sat him down when he came home Thursday night and seriously voiced my concerns, both about his safety and about our relationship. He hadn't realized how big of an effect this had been having on me in regards to our relationship, and he immediately said that he was going to cut the time he spent out there in half. He said that we could spend the entire weekend together, and we pretty much did. Friday night was spent at home, and we went out for a nice dinner Saturday night after we spent the day together. We were going to have a nice, lazy Sunday together, but I could tell he was getting kind of antsy and almost nervous after church today. So I told him that he could go ahead and go to his tunnel early if he wanted to. I won't lie, I was kind of hoping that he would stay at home, but he decided to go back out, which is alright by me. I talked to him about my concerns regarding gases that y'all made me realize I should be conscious of, and he said that he'd work to get some sort of ventilation system installed ASAP, and that he'd even dig with his dad's old gas mask if it'd make me feel better. The only thing that I didn't bring up was maybe going to therapy about it. Mainly because he said that he'd cut back, and I didn't want to push the issue too far. I think that he could maybe benefit from it. But he is of the opinion that you only go to therapy if there is something wrong with you, and I don't want him to think that I'm saying that there is something wrong with him, so all in all, maybe I should have brought that up, but I'm definitely happy with how things have turned out, so thanks everybody that gave some advice. Also, a lot of you are asking why he tunnels, and while I'd asked him before, I asked again, and this was his answer. It's just pleasant. When I'm down there, I feel safe and calm, and I'm always happier when I leave than when I went in. Illuminati confirmed, he is in fact a dwarf. Now in the comments, dude's a mole man. He's not just digging a tunnel, he's going home. One of my brothers has always been the mole man sort. Going camping, he digs out a hole for the fire pit. Going to the beach, he's gonna start digging and see how far he can get before the tide comes in. He frickin' loves digging. His whole room was bulldozers, excavators, etc., etc. Now, as a grown-ass man, he's had one job. It's digging holes. He digs holes for the telephone company. He started off being the one to jump in after the hole's dug and clear off the lines, and then he had to stand above the hole and watch it for any sign of a cave-in. Now he gets to drive the big digger and dig the big holes himself. Originally, he wanted to get his heavy equipment license to drive the big ones, but he's happy just digging his 6 feet holes on a small crew. Damn, now there's a man who loves his life. Goals. To be honest, his life goal is to get a piece of land for himself, dig a giant hole, and build a bunker. The way he describes it, it would start off small but livable, and then he would expand it over time. It's an anthill. He wants to live in an anthill. Also, this is pretty good anecdotal evidence as to why you should encourage your kids' interests, even if it's something as silly as digging holes. Dad was always taking him to construction sites to watch the diggers and dozers, and a few times we went on tours of old mines and caves and stuff. Then, when it came time to find a job, he pretty much knew exactly what he wanted to do. This story makes me feel something perplexed? But like, in a satisfying way where I don't want to fathom their rationale because it might spoil the perplexity. I'm feeling a wonder at the diversity in human nature. Of all the, frankly terrifying, kinks and obsessions we read about on Reddit, this guy just likes digging in the dirt. My son does this a lot, to the point that we've had to dedicate specific areas he's allowed to dig in because our yard was starting to look trashy and had become treacherous. It's soothing for him, like OP's boyfriend, and it seems to be one of those ADHD things that he can really focus on and chill. It's like his version of a Zen garden, I guess. Can't wait for the next update when he digs too deep and greedily. I hope the girlfriend dumps him for the Balrog. No man is as hot as a Balrog. My boyfriend of 5 years says I'm not wife material. So today I wanted to have a serious talk about where our relationship is going because I really do see myself married to this man. I basically always have. He says he loves me, but he really can't see himself marrying me. He told me that I am the best girlfriend in the world, but not really a wife or a mother. That hurts because I want to have kids. I think he realized how rude it sounded because he kept telling me I'm a great girl, he loves me, etc. But he elaborated by telling me I'm too much fun. He said I like partying. We hooked up on the first date and tried out his weirdest kinks. I'm a risk taker and I swear a lot and talk about sex, I like to dress sexy, but all of these things are things I could cut down on. Well, besides the first date thing, which I think is stupid anyway. My life isn't about partying. I survived without it during quarantine. I just like to have fun with friends like most people. I'm just a social person, and I wouldn't swear in front of kids or talk about sex. And my style can change. I'm also someone who loves to read, is interested in history, etc. I'm multifaceted. He admitted to me, finally, it's because he just can't see me as a wife and a mother after some of the stuff we've done sexually. I know that this is a Freudian complex, and he's not a bigoted guy who wants a 1950s housewife or anything. I just think that I need to prove that I can be those things, and he needs to get over this somehow. Help? Now in the comments, he said he doesn't see himself marrying you after 5 years. So where exactly is this going? So he asks for these sexual things and thinks suddenly that you're not wife material because you did what he wanted. He participated too. Does he consider himself not husband material? You shouldn't change a damn thing about yourself. It sounds like he's using you to live his wild and fun side, and he thinks less of you for it. Once you've wasted more time with him, he'll dump you for a girl who he sees as wife material, and you'll be left in the dust. You're wasting your time here if he's moralizing sexuality and equating purity to wife material, while being a hypocrite about his activities. And then he'll eventually cheat on the wife because she's too vanilla and isn't interested in his kinks. You can't win with this type. This guy has really unhealthy views on women and sex, so he can't see someone as a sexual being and a wife and mother. Find a better guy without these hang-ups, OP. Prediction? You will dump him. Please do. And years from now, I'm talking effing years, he will slide into your DMs crying about how he messed up, and he looks at his little kids and wishes they were yours and not his wife's, and how his wife is cool and everything, but she's real boring and it's just not the same. Source, I was you once. F that dude. Quote, I just think I need to prove I can be those things, and he needs to get over this somehow. What? No. This man flat out told you he doesn't want to marry you. The correct response is to end it and find someone who wants the same things that you want and actually respects you. Begging and pleading this man to marry you against his will is a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad idea. Have some self-respect and find someone who respects you. Legit, he needs therapy. You don't need to change. You're right. You are a multifaceted and complex person who loves to socialize and is confident and sexual, but also is intelligent and warm and by all accounts a lovely girlfriend. You being sexual does not preclude you from wife or motherhood. Your boyfriend is a child. You don't need to change. Mums can still have fun, still drink, still swear and dress how they want. Mums can like sex and be kinky in private and have a life and identity outside of motherhood. Your boyfriend doesn't want a wife and mother, he wants a mute doll who will bear children and exist only for him and them. You deserve better. Exist for yourself. And now to the update. We broke up. Screw his Warner Huntington III ass, lol. And thank you for the comparison. Well, I say that, but I miss him very deeply. Since the breakup, I've been a crying, shaking mess. He has been so much of my life. He told me that I'm making a mistake, that we should still enjoy our time together, but he just didn't respect me. I had to get over the denial stage first to realize that. One thing I've been wondering, is there something wrong with my personality? There was someone calling me a pick-me in my old comment section. I got a lot of DMs, a few from very kind people I'm sorry I didn't respond to. I just didn't have the capacity to at the time, and one perv asking me what sexual things I've done with my boyfriend, a whopping 4 people telling me to join female dating strategy, and somebody telling me I was playing the cool girl, and this is the payment I get. I've read Gone Girl, I know what they mean by that, and I'm stuck in this situation. I liked having sex on the first date. I mean, I was 18 and very, very revved up all the time, lol. I liked taking him to parties and being loud and dancing with him. I wasn't putting on any personality for him. Both of my parents are addicts, and neither of them are involved in my life. Maybe I didn't learn how to respect myself or something because of that, or how to properly act around a man. I think I was very good in this relationship. I loved him so much, and was there for him whenever he needed me, and for all his talk about me being trampy or whatever, I never once cheated on him or even thought about it. I could have said no more often to some of his kinks, but I think, since I started our relationship as an 18-year-old thinking he was this cool, older guy, I don't think I ever really got out of that mindset. One of my friends told me that I didn't respect myself enough. I don't know, I was having fun, but I didn't think fun negated love or a future together. I still want to get married and have kids, but maybe I don't do enough to let a guy know that. Maybe I act in a way that attracts guys who want to use me. It had been kind of a constant before we met, and I thought he might be the one not to. Sorry, this is a bit of a rant and not much of an update, but you guys were so helpful last time, and I just wanted to get everything out. Thanks. I don't think I'll be dating for a while. And now in the comments, F this guy. And also, do not apologize for being authentic and real. You are a rarity, and anyone who belittles that has no freaking clue what their own truth is. Not a clue. No, do not screw this guy again, OP. In all seriousness, I am 100% certain she will be dubbed the one that got away from now. She will be the standard that he compares every girlfriend to and wishes he married. A lot of people don't indulge in their significant other's kinks. He has no clue how good he had it. Watch how he marries a toxic girl who just starfishes and becomes miserable. I've got to ask, so he didn't respect you for hooking up on the first date, but did he expect you to respect him? You did all his kinks so he thought less of you, but he was the one with the kinks. Like seriously, F staying with a hypocritical asshat like that. And OP replies, even though he's into those things, apparently his perfect wife can't be, which I can't see making him happy in any way. I said it in another comment, but he's the kind of guy who can't respect a woman and desire her. It has to be an either-or situation. All that does is lead to heartbreak for every party involved. At first, I would thought that it was like a test. Maybe he would love me if I said no, and I screwed it up. But it was all him. Oh well, 5 years learning one big lesson. Now on to kinder, cuter, and less sexist men. Thank you. As someone who is approaching 40, let me give you some advice that I just wasn't really capable of understanding at 23 years old. Life is not about pleasing other people or meeting their expectations. Reread your post, this thread. You are focused on what other people are telling you about yourself. As you get older, the one thing that you will begin to understand is to stop letting other people's opinions dictate how you live your life. They don't have to get up in the morning and live your life. They aren't the ones who are unhappy, or sad, or hurt, or have to drag themselves through your life. So why are you letting them dictate your happiness? Here is what your situation boils down to. Your boyfriend wasn't husband material. Reaching out to Reddit for some other perspective might be helpful, but at the end of the day, all we have is our happiness, and you weren't happy. because you were in a relationship with a man who didn't respect you as a partner, did not see eye to eye with you in your relationship, and didn't see a future with you. Forget everything else about your relationship. That alone is all the reason anyone needs to end their relationship. This is your life, not your boyfriend's, not asshole commenters on Reddit. It is your life. You have to live it, and you only get one shot at it. This means you need to spend your limited time on the planet searching for your happiness. Not trying to please your boyfriend, not trying to please some random schmucks on the internet. You need to ask yourself, what would make me happiest? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you should be selfish or self-centered, just understand that you can both be in a relationship with someone who sees a future with you, which is what you need to be happy in a relationship, and at the same time, be a loving, supportive partner to them. My point is that you would be doing yourself a massive favor by not letting other people have undue influence over your decision-making. You are the one who has to live your life, not other people. If you're unhappy with your relationship because of an irreconcilable difference, cut your losses and move on. Tune out the haters and find someone who makes you happy and that you can build a future with. On a personal note, you're 23. You were dating a douchebag. In a couple of years, you're going to look back and say to yourself, I can't believe I was hung up on such a loser. Yeah, no, I'm gonna echo that sentiment here as well. He sounds like a complete loser. Not even in the sense that I'm dragging him just to pander to OP. But Jesus Christ, he's just telling you, you're not worth me sticking around for, but I'm gonna keep you anyway. Dear God, the amount of self-awareness he's lacking to just say the quiet part out loud like that. He's not even doing the manipulative loser part right, he is that dumb. If anything, his ignorance just saved you so much time, OP, and thank God for that. Anyway, our next post is titled, My 40 male, ex-wife, 40 female, wants me to be with her in her last days. Backstory. So I met my ex when we were both 10. She was, and is, my twin sister's best friend, so we've always been kind of a trio growing up. We started dating at 14 and got married at 23. Things got ugly though, cause 5 years after getting married, she told me that she had a month-long affair with her coworker. Apparently the guilt was too much for her, so she confessed. We tried to work through it, but after a few months of trying, I knew that despite the fact that I loved her, I couldn't trust her anymore. She told me she still loved me, and that she would wait for me and prove that I was the only one, and I wanted to believe her, but, you know, some things just can't be fixed. We never had kids. 3 years after the divorce, I met my now wife, 38 female, and we got married 2 years after dating. She is everything that I could ever dream of in a wife, and more. My ex, as my sister told me, as they're still besties, never really recovered. She quit her job and is now working in a church. Throughout my relationship with my wife, she kept trying to get back together, and on the day of my wedding, she told me she still loved me and would love no one else. She said this was the last time she would bother me, but that she'll wait for however long it took. Apparently she's honest in that regard at least, because my sister said she has never been with anyone since. So here is what happened recently. My wife and I, married for 7 years now, have 2 kids, 7 female and 3 male. My sister came over with her own kids so the cousins could play. While my wife was out to pick up lunch, my sister sat me down and told me the situation about my ex. Apparently, she only has less than 6 months to live. She refused treatment and wants to live her last few months to the fullest. I guess that's why her and my sister really went out of their way to travel despite the pandemic. One thing on her bucket list, though, was that she wanted to feel like my wife again. No sex, no kissing, she just wanted me to be around the house. She still lives in the house that we lived in, again, and maybe hold her from time to time. I told her that I wouldn't do that, because that was pretty much emotionally cheating. My sister kept arguing and begging me to at least see her and hear her out. We kept arguing, no screaming, as the kids were in the next room with her older daughter, until my wife came back. My sister told her the whole story, and while she looked upset, she said she understood where my ex was coming from. When my sister left, my wife and I talked about it. My wife knows everything that happened in the past with my ex. She said while she isn't thrilled about the idea, she won't get upset if I decided to see her again on a regular basis. My wife is literally the best thing that ever happened to me, and I love her more than anyone. She makes me happier than I've ever been in my life, even in the good times with my ex. She knows I won't cheat. I also have zero romantic feelings for my ex, so there is nothing lingering there. I don't hate her or anything, it's just that the love that I had for her has long since died. After thinking about it for a while, I'm honestly 50-50 about it. I know that I don't owe her anything, but I feel like I might regret not seeing her at least one more time, since the last time I saw her was on my wedding day, and that wasn't a good encounter for either of us. Unless you count the times I occasionally see her in the store or something. I honestly feel like, despite what she did, she still deserves to go with some peace. On the other hand, I'm not entirely sure if this might potentially affect our marriage. My wife says she's okay with it, and I believe her, but I just can't be sure that she'll feel the same way after it happens. I don't want anything to jeopardize what I have right now, no matter what. I'm not too thrilled about going myself, to be honest. Any advice? What should I do? Edit, I just want to add that if I ever do this, I won't be acting like a husband or anything inappropriate like that. I'm just gonna see her and talk for a bit. My sister says that me just being there and sharing a meal with her would be more than enough for her to feel like we were married again. Yeah, Chief, I'm gonna go with I wouldn't do that. Much like the lovely idea of having a threesome, you don't know how your significant other is going to react until it happens. Maybe that's a false equivalence, I'm not entirely sure, but to me it seems similar enough. I think personally, I wouldn't go through with it because it seems a bit too risky for me. I wouldn't want to sabotage my marriage. But how would I know? I've not been in this situation. I've never been married. I'm alone. Let's see what the comments have to say. Just my opinion, but I wouldn't do it. There is plenty of risk and little possible reward. If you want to show goodwill towards your ex, run errands for her, or show support in some other way. Have a meal sometime with her, with your wife present. You don't owe anything to your ex, so these gestures are more than you are obliged to do. In my opinion, this scheme would be playing with fire in regards to your current marriage. OP, I feel really sad for your ex. The last 12 years must be full of sadness and regret for her. All of that because of one stupid decision on her part without giving much thought to the consequences that might arise from this decision. Do we count a month as one stupid decision? I'm not sure. That being said, this is her dying wish. So what I'm going to say is going to sound heartless, but please hear me out. Your wife sounds like an angel and very mature. I'm really happy to hear that she and you guys feel secure enough in your relationship with each other that you feel comfortable enough to bring this up with her and for her to grant this. I would say that a lot of families strive for this kind of relationship. Even though you have no feelings for your ex, this still has the potential of causing some strain in your marriage with repercussions that may go on for a long time. Your ex may not be around, but you'll be around to bear the brunt of that decision. So I would strongly urge you to consider all the possibilities and potential consequences of this decision, unlike what your ex did. If you really want, you can certainly consider running errands for her and or meeting her often in open public places like parks during the day. I find it amusing that she's the one who cheated and you're the one to have moved out, and she's the one who ended up keeping the house that you both bought. And now she wants to play house husband and wife with you in that same house. She expects you and your wife to just be okay with it. I understand that you now have no feelings towards your ex, and I'd say that you're a better person than I am for that. That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the "it's her dying wish" part and gloss over the fact that she was the one who had an affair and ruined everything, and now she's asking OP for something that many would see as disrespect to his new wife. Also, are we absolutely sure this is legit and not just some harebrained scheme to destroy his new marriage and get him back? What proof does OP have other than sister's word that she's actually dying? Dying wishes aren't magical. We die how we lived. And now onto the update. So it's been almost 3 weeks since I've posted, and a lot has happened since. I got some solid advice from you guys, especially some who messaged me their personal experiences. I'd like to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. So here is what happened. As many of you guys suggested, I talked to my wife. We had a long discussion about the whole situation, and I assured her that no matter what, she is and always will be my first priority. I also assured her that while I wanted to say my goodbye, I would never act like her husband. It would be more like me seeing a childhood friend or something like that. I also told her that I would never spend the night, nor would I be alone with her. She was more comfortable after our talk, and was pretty okay with the idea of me seeing my ex again. As you guys guessed, she really felt like she was forced into being okay with it when my sister asked, but this time she really was okay. So I talked to my sister, and after a long, heated discussion about what my role would be in the visit, she agreed to the boundaries my wife and I set. A week later, my sister and I came over to our old marital home. It was surreal because while the emotions from years before came back to me, I didn't feel any sadness nor hatred or anything negative. I saw my ex, who was waiting for us in the living room, and she cried when I walked in. Most of you suggested she was faking it, but while she was still strong, you could tell almost immediately something was wrong with her. I indulged her with a hug, and we talked for a few hours while my sister made lunch. I showed her pictures of my kids and told her stories about what they're like. Honestly, I didn't know how I would react after I saw her again, but it just feels like seeing an old friend that you haven't seen in a long time. There was no hate or anything like that. I walked around the house, and it was pretty much the way it was when I left over a decade ago. I'm not really sure how I feel about our wedding photos still framed, and pictures of us are all still over the house, but it really wasn't my place to say anything. The three of us had lunch and played board games all afternoon. It honestly felt like we were back to when we were kids, and the three of us would hang out together. It was nice. I left at around 6. She was sad, but she understood. When I hugged her goodbye, she whispered, "I love you" to me, but then said how she was happy that I was able to find the happiness that she couldn't give me. That part got to me, to be honest, and I was fighting back tears. I told her I'd see her again soon, and she asked if I could bring my kids next time. I told her I would, and left to pick up dinner for my family. I told my wife everything that happened, and she was quite happy about the outcome. I guess it helped that I brought home her favorite food, but she also agreed to let me bring the kids next time. Overall, it was a great experience seeing her again. I feel like I needed that, and would have regretted not doing so. Again, I'd like to thank everyone who gave me advice. Also, please don't roast my ex too much. She made a mistake and paid the price, but it doesn't mean that she is an evil person. This will be my last update. Thank you very much, Reddit. And now in the comments, you should thank your current wife. Flowers, card, something for being strong enough to handle it. This. His current wife is amazing, and there should be lots of love and reinforcement coming her way from him. I don't know if I would have agreed to it. Not sure how I feel about these return visits and involving innocent children in all of this, though. I think for the children, it would be more like visiting their aunt's best friend, and nothing more because they're so young. Except their aunt's best friend is dying and has photos of their wedding with their dad hanging up in the house. Not exactly an apples-to-apples comparison. Also, the woman made it clear that she wanted this whole revisitation as a means to feel like they were husband and wife again. Why would you bring children into that kind of situation when they already know their mum to be happily married to their father? As you noted in the OP, you were over the marriage. No reason not to be there for a friend. I'm glad you went through with it. I honestly have no idea how I would have handled a situation like this, but OP has done this admirably. I'm glad things have worked out so well. It is definitely the wants to feel like we're married again part that was weird here. Wanting to see someone from your past that you were close to for a long time makes perfect sense. Wanting some closure on a relationship that ended badly makes sense. But the whole wanting to be able to feel like you're still married, that's just sort of weird. It sounds like what happened was much more normal than that, thankfully. Maybe a better way to put it is that she wanted to feel a sense of normalcy in the way that she defined it for so much of her life. It makes me feel very sad for the ex-wife to think what small scraps she wants at the end of her life, to be able to pretend that a person who is openly not interested in her still is just for a moment. It may be that leaving her childhood sweetheart was the right thing to do. He certainly seems much happier, but it makes me sad to think that she didn't go on to have better relationships in her life after that. It's a good reminder to learn to live with our choices and make the most of the time that we have. Oh wow, kind of sad, but I'm glad that it worked out the way it did. I just feel sad for the ex, mostly in that she never seemed to be able to really own her own mistakes, and because of that, she never accepted herself and moved on. The house stayed the same, the pictures of the ex were still up, she just wanted her old life back, and it was gone. She never forgave herself and moved on, and then when she got cancer, she just accepted her death and didn't fight. It paints a picture of a woman wallowing in her own misery, and when she saw death approaching, she decided she deserved it. Maybe she could have accepted she was a good person who made a horribly costly mistake. Maybe with that acceptance, she could have moved on and found love. Then maybe be in a position to fight the cancer? It just seems sad. Her entire life is defined by that month-long affair and paying penance for it. And who benefited from that? Edit. My mum was diagnosed with cancer 12 years ago, so I know something of it, but obviously with a survivor's bias. Can we stop with the, well, actually now, that cancer can't always be fought is pretty universally understood. Oof. I really feel this one since it easily could have been me. I cheated when I was engaged, and my ex ended things after I told her. At the time, I vowed not to move on as a form of penance. In a weird way, I wasn't strong enough to not move on. I think it helped that we hadn't married yet, didn't have wedding photos, we didn't live in the same area, that I moved several times. Even after moving on, I didn't really forgive myself for several years. I couldn't have healthy relationships until I fully worked through it and was finally able to completely commit myself to new relationships. That process took at least 5 years, but I was still living life through it, even if it was a really bad life. Much better than being Mrs. Havesham in a mausoleum of your own design. I understand that pull, though. Am I the asshole for revealing my sister's truth to a family member that made everyone lose their crap on my parents and her? So she, 40 female, has been ignoring me, 21 male, for 5 months since finding out that Grace is not my sister. She's my biological mum, and after finding this out, my whole life has been an effing mess. My parents pretended to be my parents because, from what they told me, it was better that way for everyone since Grace wasn't ready to be a mum. I've been wanting to hear her side ever since, but she decided to block me. My parents, quote-unquote, have talked to her because Grace wants to drop this and not bring this to her husband. They live in another state, so they are not close at all, but she basically didn't want this getting to her husband. I kept asking her to please just sit down with me once to hear her side, but she's been silent ever since. Why I'm asking if I'm an asshole is because the other weekend, me and my cousin had beers at his house. Me being drunk AF, I started crying about everything going on. He asked me what was wrong, and I told him everything. Crap blew up. Nobody in my family knew about this. He texted his mum that same night. Next morning, I'm waking up to everyone blowing up my phone, even my parents too. Now everybody in the family knows, and they've even reached out to Grace on my behalf, telling her if I want to talk to her, then she owes me at least that. The whole thing couldn't be kept a secret from her husband. He knows now too because she called my parents, crying because they had a big fight. He is so mad that he is staying at his parents' place. She's saying it's my fault now for not letting it go, and now it seems like everything in her life is falling apart, including my parents, because everyone's coming down on them too for lying this whole time. I know none of that would have happened if it hadn't been for me saying something. But also I feel that after being the one who got lied to, I was owed some answers too. Am I the asshole? And now in the comments, not the asshole. You didn't reveal her truth, you revealed your truth. You're allowed to share whatever details about your life that you want. Exactly this, OP. You had every right to share with your cousin what you were going through. You have no obligation to continue the lie that your family started. Also, please remember, no matter what Grace says, that what is happening to her now that the truth is known is not your fault. She chose to not tell her husband the truth when she met him, still didn't tell him when dating, after becoming engaged, and then even after getting married. She made the decision to keep this from her husband, and he has every right to be upset. His reaction is not because or about you specifically, but rather about realizing that his wife didn't trust him enough with the truth and was planning to keep him in the dark forever. He now has lost trust in her and is questioning if she is actually the person he believed she was. He is also probably wondering what other things she has kept from him, what other secrets she may have hidden. Keeping secrets like this from family and from significant others is never okay. You are not in the wrong here, OP, and you are without a doubt not the asshole. I hope you get all the answers you are looking for soon. As someone whose biological mum pretended to be their sister well into my 20s, I can assure you that you caused less of a fuss than I did. Not the asshole, but to be honest, I didn't read the whole post. I just know that feeling when the truth is right there, and you just get tired of hiding other people's problems, which were never yours to be responsible for. Not the asshole. Wow, I can't even. I am sorry that this happened to you. She knew that you found out. The least she could have done is talk to you. Anyone could see this playing out like it did. If she had done the right thing, she might have had a different outcome. This is not on you. I'm hesitant to call the sister an asshole, only because none of us know the circumstances behind Opie's conception. I'm giving her a smidge of benefit because this could potentially be a very painful experience for her. I'd call her an asshole for at least marrying a man without telling him that her sibling is actually her child. I'd be shocked if he found out and didn't end up in a big argument and lasting trust issues at the very least. A lot of posters on here seem to think that having had a traumatic experience, suspected, OP doesn't know, means you can inflict trauma on others and expect them to uphold a life-shattering lie without being held accountable. Guess what? Being traumatized doesn't mean that you can't also be a huge asshole. And now onto the update. Crap has really gotten so crazy since this post that I actually needed some more time to get my head right. I appreciate everyone saying this was my truth to tell and being really supportive of everything going on. I told my family to back off on Grace because even if they thought they had good intentions defending me, it still wasn't okay. My cousin also apologized too. So the craziness that happened. Grace's, soon-to-be ex-husband, literally flew over here to talk in person, telling me he thinks he's my dad. He told me about what him and Grace talked about when he left. The thing is, they were a couple before I was born. They broke up because he was going to be going to college far away. Then years later, they met again, and so on and so forth. I never knew this. He didn't connect the dots because who would? But since he learned that she's my mum and she went this far to hide it, he wanted to know for sure. We both cried after doing a paternity test that came back positive. We didn't talk for a day. After I went through another whole-ass existential crisis for days, we met again. He told me he's sorry for not knowing because he would have taken responsibility of me if Grace didn't want that. Then we both cried together again. I finally talked with her too, once this was all out. She was the one who reached out to me, so don't say that I bullied her into it. Her truth was that she wasn't ready to be a single mom. My grandparents supported her terminating, at least they were honest about that, but she changed her mind and still didn't tell him. She never thought that she'd see him again anyways. By the time they met and restarted their relationship, it was already a few years since she gave me to my grandparents, so to her, there wasn't a point for him to know anymore. Also because she knew that he was going to want custody if he knew that I'm his son, and she moved on from the thought of having kids. Their relationship wouldn't have survived, basically. He is so mad at her because he had a right to be in my life. It's just a mess. I'm mad and hurt that they kept us from knowing about this. And now she says she's sorry, but after learning how far this lie went, I can't with any of them right now. To her or my grandparents, it's too much. I know they keep reaching out to apologize for everything, but it's too painful. The small bright side is, me and him are talking. It was weird as F at first, but we're getting more used to it. He's known me since I was like 9. I know he's a good guy, I just never thought that he was my biological dad. And he really seems like he wants us to be closer than before. I can tell it hurts him too when he's looking at me. So for now, we're trying to go with the flow. Gonna be needing serious therapy after this. There is so much going on in my head, but at least I've got something. And now in the comments, I hope you both can heal together, and that you get to meet your paternal family when you're ready. Grace should have told him a long time ago. She robbed him of knowing his child. And OP replies, that's what we've both been mad about. He came into my life when I was 9. That was still at an age where I could have grown up having him as my dad. Even more so, he never even got a say or a chance to see you before that. She robbed him of your first smile, first walk, first everything. As a mother of 2, I can't even begin to describe how precious those first few years are, and they go by so fast. How is it now? Will he have to adopt you to regain his parental rights? Or will your grandparents' adoption of you be voided since one of your parents never signed away their rights in the first place? And OP replies, I don't know, we haven't talked about adoption stuff. Right now it's just trying to get to know each other better and build that father-son relationship. Oh geez. Growing up, there was a girl on my street whose sister was 16 years older than her and had actually given birth to her. But everyone knew, and she was very matter-of-fact about it. My sister used to be my mum, but she decided to be my sister instead because she wasn't grown up yet, is how she explained it when we were like 6. So I assume that's how her parents explained it to her. Her parents were a little older than most, but it was also kind of cool. They retired and got to spend a lot more time with her than those of us with younger parents. I really admire the way that the family handled that. It respects the feelings and intelligence of the kid. See, this is how you should do it. Let the child know from a very young age in an age-appropriate way. Ideally, the child would have no memory of finding out. Every person in this story failed OP and his father. Even if you believe in the argument that he wasn't privileged to know who his parents were, he absolutely had the right to know that he wasn't raised by his bio parents. I understand not wanting to be a mum, and I get why she chose to give him, but it is inexcusable to allow someone to live a lie. I had a friend who was a big-time DJ, rich parents, big house, spun all over the world, and then at 30, he found out his dad wasn't his biological parent. He had an existential crisis and it destroyed his life, downward spiral into drugs. My uncle, by marriage, only found out he was adopted when his mother passed away a year or 2 ago. She was his last remaining parent, and he found out at 57. Our next post is titled, Pretty sure I'm in love with my roommate, and I hate it. So on New Year's 2016, I, 23 male, met my roommate, 25 female, through a friend of a friend. We got along pretty well, and I admired how confident she was, and the fact that she spoke 4 languages fluently. She told me she thought that I was funny, and we had a lot in common. You know, basic crap. We went home and figured we'd probably never see each other again, mainly because this was in California, where I was only visiting. I lived in New York. In the summer of 2016, while visiting California again, I got invited to a group watch/viewing party thing for Stranger Things with the same group of friends. Sure enough, she was there. It was only supposed to be a couple of hours long, but a few of us decided to stay and binge because we really liked the show. Her and I were 2 of those people. She remembered who I was, and I was frickin' thrilled. It's crazy because I genuinely wasn't into her romantically right away. I just really wanted to spend time with her. We ended up having a great time and exchanged numbers, etc., etc. From then on, we were pretty good friends despite the distance. Our relationship was unique compared to any others I'd had, right off the bat. It was such a haphazard mix of barely knowing anything about each other, while also knowing really deep and personal stuff about each other that no one else knew. I'm sure this was partly because of the long distance, but still, I would say we were pretty close. By the end of 2017, I considered her one of my best friends. In 2019, I got a job and I was allowed the option to relocate. One of the possible locations was a city in SoCal, and I took it. You can obviously see where this is going. We decided to live together, and everything got 1,000 times better. I can't even describe it, but to no one's surprise, we made great roommates. Quarantine affected her job pretty heavily since she worked in fashion. She ended up staying home a lot, and I was able to do my job from home. Her family is small and consists of only a few people, and I don't really have any living family left. So this unfortunately made the whole COVID thing a lot less scary. This led to us spending tons of time together just talking and enjoying each other's presence, and even learning some new languages together, as we are both aspiring polyglots. Last year, she brought up how she'd love to live in different countries for a few years at a time. She asked me how I felt about moving, and I told her I would go anywhere in the world with her if she asked me to. I think we both assumed that I said this because I, like her, love experiencing different cultures and languages in different places. But in retrospect, I think I was already in love with her. It's coming up on 1 year that we've been living together in redacted country. I don't want to get too specific, and it's been refreshing and scary for many reasons. But mainly, this has been the hardest year of my life because I'm always so close to her. We don't have many strict physical boundaries. This we've mutually agreed upon and are comfortable with. So she'll walk in and use the bathroom while I'm in the shower, she'll lay on me and fall asleep if we're both on the couch or even in bed, etc., though we obviously have separate rooms. This has never been a problem, and we both completely trust each other. But recently, having realized how I feel, it makes me really nervous. I'm so afraid she can hear my heartbeat when she's near me, and it's so freaking embarrassing, dear God. Even typing this is so embarrassing that I can't believe I made a throwaway account just to say all this mushy crap to a bunch of strangers. But thank you for reading, if you've gotten this far. She still works in fashion, so historically, I've let her dress me up and practice on me because I don't mind. And honestly, she has great taste. She's been making jokes like, "I've always wanted to dress up my boyfriend," and just jokingly referring to me in that way. I'm so dumbstruck, I honestly can't remember if she always made jokes like that every so often, and it only stands out to me now because of how I feel, or if this is new. But either way, I'm starting to worry that she's able to pick up on my shift in energy when she gets close to me. I just can't help it. Last night, we were messing around with her extra makeup palettes. Yes, I let her practice makeup on me. Yes, I know. I was doing a terrible job putting makeup on her because I never use it, and she was comparing shades of eyeshadow on me. Our faces were incredibly close, and I kept effing up and dropping things and stuttering, which isn't usual for me. She definitely noticed. I had COVID last month, and have been having mild lasting issues from it, so I just keep blaming everything on that, including heart palpitations. It's a perfect cover for now, but it's going to wear off. I feel like I'm super obvious and she somehow already knows. I just can't express how completely in over my head I am. Everything she talks about, the things she enjoys, the way she laughs, I could listen to her talk forever about anything. When she falls asleep, she snores. She has no idea. I think it's cute, but I don't want to embarrass her by telling her. But when she dozes off and leans on me, all I can think about is that this is all I want out of life. Dramatic, I know. I am truly in too deep. As you can probably conclude, I am a friggin' mess. I'm so worried about ruining everything that it's tearing me apart. Even now I keep writing things like, "It's okay if she doesn't feel the same, I can live with that," and erasing it because it just isn't true. She's currently asleep next to me, and looking at her, it just makes me think that I'll be devastated if that's the case. And then what? 6 years of friendship. She's my best friend. I just don't know what to do. She also uses Reddit like I do, and she checks this page a lot. If she sees this, she'll absolutely know that it's me. Anyways, this post is long enough. Thank you for reading if you made it this far, and I hope you're having a peaceful day and night. And now in the comments, that sentence about her using Reddit shows that you were dying to tell her. This friendship won't ever be the solution for you. It also seems a really strong friendship. You could be friends even if she doesn't feel the same way. By the way, if I had to guess, she's probably into you. Asking you to move out with her is a big thing. Also, those boyfriend jokes could be a hint. Shoot your shot. What you have is rare, and I'm sure it will survive every answer. Yeah, you only got one life. Gotta shoot your shot before someone else gets a go at her. I found myself in a similar boat before. I resigned myself to not say anything for fear of damaging what good we had. It ate at me and tore apart at me every day, to the point that I would just randomly start sobbing out of an intense longing. Then she found a partner who made her happy. It devastated me, despite my overwhelming happiness for her that she was happy. I was, and still am, devastated that the someone she is happy with isn't me. Our friendship was impacted, as I struggled to speak around her as a result of fear for giving up how I feel, despite knowing that I would rip my own beating heart out of my chest for her if she needed it. I absolutely don't dare say anything now, because I don't want to disrupt a good thing that she has with this person. I absolutely cannot do that to her. I have few regrets in life, but I can absolutely say the top one high above all the rest is not telling her how I really feel about her. My advice, tell her. And now, onto the update. Holy frickin' Christ on earth. To everyone who messaged me and left comments, thank you infinitely. There are simply too many for me to reply to them all. I never expected to get so much support. I literally posted this in a haze before going to sleep. I wasn't even going to log back into this account. Everyone sharing their similar stories is completely melting me to my core. I'm gonna clarify a couple things. A lot of people have asked if we have dated anyone in the past 6 years, and the answer is yes, but nothing serious for either of us. We have always been each other's wingman. Back in California, we each had a few dates here and there. A few that came home even. But after quarantine, it stopped, and it hasn't picked up again since. Neither of us have been seeing anyone or even talked about going out or using dating apps, etc. since early 2020. At the mention of, if you hadn't stated your genders, I would have thought this was sapphic, etc., because lesbians and bisexuals tend to pine in this way, well, you're still 100% correct, because we are both bisexual. You've all convinced me that this is worth the risk. I'm going to tell her. I'm currently at work, but I'm literally shaking as I'm typing this. I'll update ASAP. Thank you all again. Update 2. I know everyone wants a detailed update. Typing this still feels so embarrassing to flesh out, so I'll try my best. Nothing bad happened though, not at all. I came really close to chickening out. I got back from work yesterday and tried to act normal. She could immediately tell that something was off with me, and I told her that I was just tired, which was actually true. I got back later than I usually do. But it was like everything was amplified by 100. I kept noticing small things that were making me crazy. Even just the way that she was standing when I walked in, how she smiled at me, what she was wearing and how it fit her, everyday things that were making me lose my effing mind. I knew I wasn't going to be able to sleep without telling her. Basically, I just ended up blurting it out. Romantic, I know. She was sitting with me and I told her I loved her. She said she loved me too, but we've said that to each other before. So I clarified that no, I meant I am in love with her. She went quiet for a moment, and I thought that I was gonna effing pass out. Everything's a blur after that because she kissed me, and I couldn't hold back anymore. The release of everything I've felt for these past few years is effing indescribable. So, I feel like I'm being very abrupt, but all of this feels much more private to discuss now, but I can't effing believe it took me this long. When I woke up this morning, I thought for a split second that I just dreamt everything, but with her next to me, I have never felt so relieved in my life. I love her more than anything, which I already knew, but it feels so different now. I called out of work today because I can't pry myself away from her. I'm being extremely cheesy, but I literally do not care. Good. I might come back sometime in the future and add some updates depending. Jury's still out because she doesn't still know about this post. I'm definitely going to tell her about it though. And yes, the dressing up my boyfriend thing was a part of her trying to drop hints. I asked her about it. I'm an effing dope. I cannot thank everyone here enough for all the encouragement and support. You are all amazing, and I wish you everything you have ever hoped for. I believe in you, and you can do it, man. Just go for it. And now in the comments, My god, they were roommates. It is nice and sweet to come across a story like this to help wash down the incest ones. It's like this was the longest possible courtship, living together for 6 years until they finally kissed. Honestly, it's kinda perfect. They've spent so long knowing each other, being friends, living together. To still fall in love after going through all that, it is such a solid foundation for a romantic relationship. I hope it works out for them. When I read that line about dressing up my boyfriend, I wanted to reach through the screen and gently smack him upside the head. I love this. I watched a buddy of mine do this once. A cute girl was blatantly checking him out, gave him that side smile and a wink and said, "You know, I get off work in an hour." His response was, "Good for you." Then he walked away. I made fun of him for years over it. So let me get this straight. This chick dropped hints as large as the Pacific Ocean, and this guy still thinks he's in the Atlantic. Look, my husband is genuinely this dense. We met at work and had many great moments which he was convinced were platonic, such as me staying back after work for 3 hours every day to talk to him, me replying to questions from my other co-workers of whether he's my boyfriend with "not yet," and "I'm waiting to be asked out." All of our co-workers telling him I really like him and he should ask me out. Me literally asking him on a romantic date, and me literally asking him to be my boyfriend. We later realized he was autistic. He also used to grumble a lot about never having luck with women, but also had several stories of women who just kept trying to talk to him and hang out with him when he didn't want them to. My 19-year-old sister is getting married to her 36-year-old high school teacher. So my younger sister is getting married to her 36-year-old high school teacher in a few days, and everyone seems okay with it. She graduated a year ago, and they told us they were dating almost immediately after the graduation. I was shocked and angry, but everyone around me was happy and supportive of them. The teacher divorced his wife 2 years ago and started paying attention to my sister. He spoke to her after class regularly and paid special attention to her studies. I thought this was weird and talked to my sister about this, but she told me that he was helping her because she was the best student of her class, which she was. A few months ago, only a few months into dating, they announced that they were engaged. I tried talking to my parents about their age difference and stuff, but they didn't want to hear it. I talked to my sister, and she told me she's happy and that she loves him. We live in a small town with a tight-knit community, and everyone else is supporting their marriage. I'm feeling useless right now, and I'm angry at myself. I was unable to protect my sister. I feel like I failed my duties as an older sibling. I hate everyone around me. How do they not see what's going on here? And now in the comments, my cousin did this. She was a sophomore in college, and her professor divorced his wife and married her, and of course, immediately impregnated her. 10 years or so later, he left her and married another student of about 20. As a side note, the guy looked just like Meatloaf. He's helping her because she's the best student in the class? What? Shouldn't he be helping the students who were doing the worst in his class? Well, they weren't child bride material. You can't forbid it, but you can voice your concern, which you have done. You haven't failed. You can't control people. You have to decide if you can support your sister's choices. Whether the relationship succeeds or fails, you can support her. The guy should be called out for grooming though, no? Exactly. I came here to say this as well. Sounds like he groomed her for a while. Absolutely disgusting. In the UK, it is still an offense to do this. It's still grooming a child even if they hide it until they're of age when it comes out. It's a massive breach of trust. Same with Canada. He would be charged with sexual exploitation because they have never lost contact and he's always held a power control over her. He groomed her. Also, from the timeline, it definitely seems like stuff happened while she was in school. OP, your feelings are very valid. I am very sorry that you have to go through this. I am flabbergasted and disgusted that others don't feel the same. Sounds like Buddy was grooming her so he could lock her down before she can go out in the world and learn who she wants to be and know what she wants from life. Now he gets to use his authoritarian position to make those choices for her. That's not cool. She'll never get to experience dating boys, making her own decisions, renting her own first apartment. That's all gone now. Self-discovery is a huge part of our lives, and he's taking that all away from her so she can be taught like a dog on how to be his pet. I mean, wife. And now on to the update. So the marriage happened. I contemplated not going to the ceremony, but I didn't want to hurt my little sister, so I went reluctantly. My blood was boiling throughout the whole thing. Everyone who came to the ceremony congratulated them. I couldn't even look the teacher in the face because I was so angry at him. I hated the whole thing. I'm leaving this town tomorrow. I had some interviews lined up and got selected in one. It's in a city, and I'm moving tomorrow. I can't stand these people. My parents think that getting married to a good guy with a stable job is the best thing that could have happened to my sister, and my relatives agreed. He groomed her. Why doesn't anyone else see that? I wanted to scream at everyone. When I told my sis that I was leaving, she cried. I reassured her and told her that I wasn't angry at her. I made it clear that she could contact me anytime, under any circumstances, and that I would be there for her. I bought her a phone, and I told her that I would talk to her regularly. I tried to not antagonize anyone because I want them to reach out to me if anything happens. It was very hard to do. I came very close to fighting several people. My sister was a star student. I always thought that she would go to a big college and become someone significant, but now she's going to be a housewife. That thought is destroying me. I wasn't harsh on her because I'm hoping that she wakes up soon, and I want to be there for her when that happens. I want to support her and see her full potential, and I'm wishing that it happens soon. Edit, I've told her not to have any children until she's sure. She has a contraceptive implant, and I told her not to get it removed for at least a couple of years. I told her to tell me if anyone ever pressured her to have it removed. I really hope that she follows my advice. And now in the comments, I had a teacher that did this, married 3 of his students over his career. Nothing was ever done as he waited after they graduated. That guy even cheated on them while he was grooming the next. When I graduated, he was grooming someone younger than his daughter. I want to know just how old the ex-wife was. 24? 25? I have a bad feeling that this girl is going to lose 5 very important years of her life being married to this guy, and then he'll move on to the next star student. If he leaves her after 5 years, that might actually be the best case scenario, besides her leaving him sooner. Especially if they don't have kids. I really hope she doesn't have kids. Ding ding ding, who knows? If the little sis stays properly youthful and immature in personality and looks, she might make it to the age of 30 before the divorce. I'm a 36-year-old teacher, and my god, these students are children in my eyes. The fact that the teacher could do this is disgusting, and that everyone just went along? That poor girl. She didn't have a phone? That's the first thing that caught me. Like OP said small town, but how much are you unaware of if you don't have a phone? Unless she still uses the internet regularly and just never got a phone because the town is so small? I don't know. Still seems strange in 2022. And OP replies, some parents don't trust their daughters. My uncle is this way. My cousin has a smartphone, but it doesn't have a SIM card. She's not allowed to have any social media profiles. Internet can only be used for her education. If she wants to talk over the phone, she has to use the landline or her mother's phone. I mean, no offense to your uncle, but this is what happens to those kids. They go from one overly controlling man to another. Yep, or the moment that they get an ounce of freedom, they go completely insane and wind up in very dangerous situations. It's a tale as old as time. I went to high school where the water polo coach was dating a teenager. He got her pregnant, and it became a huge scandal at the school. He was also my English teacher, and not a good one at that. But I knew that he was a creepy dude, as he creeped on all the girls in the class. He finally got fired. I believe he was about 30 or 32 at the time. About 10 years later, he dumped the cheerleader after impregnating her 2 more times, found another girl at 18, and was with her for 10 years too. It's been 3 decades since I graduated high school, and he just dumped girlfriend number 3 who was 18 when he met her, and he's on 18-year-old girlfriend number 4 that he met in class. It is super gross, and I can't believe he still teaches high school English. Hey man, it was cool of you to not blow up at the wedding. I would have ground my teeth down to nothing. But you being respectful and keeping an open line of communication with her is big, and I deeply respect you for that. At least she's 19 and has ample time to decide for herself if this marriage with him is right for her. All her friends will be going off into life, and for now, all she can do is watch from home. She can still change her mind and leave him. And maybe, just to lighten the mood here, if she does choose to leave, she gets half of his stuff. That might be a bump up for her if she wants to go back to school and be independent. Mad respect for being a good sibling through all of this. Our next post is titled, "Family's friend and I started dating, but our families are upset about it. We're so confused." So, my now girlfriend and I have known each other our entire lives. Our families have been friends for a long time now, so we were always close. My girlfriend and I had feelings for each other for a while, but never acted on it until a few months ago. We secretly dated until 2 weeks ago when we went to prom together. We thought everyone would think that it was the coolest thing ever, but they had the opposite reaction. They told us that we weren't allowed to date, and that was that. The only explanation that we got is that it's weird because we're basically family, which doesn't make sense because we are not related. We are just so confused about why they're acting like this. We're not going to stop because we're going away to college in a couple of months, but it's frustrating that they are ruining this for us. Anyone have any idea why they're doing this, or how we can get them to change their minds? And now in the comments, most likely something is amiss here. You need to dig into why these families don't want y'all to be together. And OP replies, has to be something missing, right? They're just being super dismissive about it and not giving us a clear answer as to why. I think you need to double check that you aren't actually related. DNA testing. Exactly. The only two reasons I can think of is they're related, somebody cheated and the families were mature enough to not let it break up the relationships, or they're worried that if they ever break up, it'll ruin the family's closeness and make things weird. I can't come up with another option. The breakup/closeness issue is a real possibility. I'd say you're right on the money. Best thing OP can do is keep the relationship civil and end on good terms if worse comes to worse. Easier said than done. It is going to be completely determined on the cause for the breakup and if the other party can handle it. It would likely be fine, but I bet the family doesn't want to risk it. 1. They might consider her family given their long friendship, but you are not actually related, so that's a non-starter. 2. They might be worried about what happens to their friendship with each other if you two were to break up. Is this going to end up like that episode of House where this couple ran away because the dude's dad beat him up for dating the girl and they thought that it was because he was a racist, but it turns out the dad had an affair with the neighbor woman and the resulting child is the dude's wife/half-sister? I have questions, and they probably won't be answered. Edit to add, life also isn't a TV show, and it is still very plausible and believable that they think it's weird purely for the reason that you two grew up together, and to them, it's like you were siblings. Which, if that's the case, and hopefully it is, they can suck it up and deal. And OP replies, I'm hoping that's the case. At least that would just be annoying rather than life-changing. You'd be taking your incestuous act pretty well then. And OP says, Lamau, not that. I'm talking about their edit. If it turns out that our families are just being annoying, it's not a bad outcome. When I started dating my family friend of 10 plus years, our families were also against it. They were worried about us breaking up and ruining the relationship between both families. Our siblings were a bit awkward too. They felt like they became the third and fourth wheel. We did our best to not act coupley around them and continued to hang out, the four of us, so that they soon realized nothing was going to change. I would sit down with your parents and ask them what their reasoning is and why they're against it. My boyfriend and I at the time agreed that if we ever broke up, we wouldn't be childish about it and would let the parents continue to be friends. We are married now. Good luck. And OP replies, Congrats. I'm hoping that that's our family's reasoning for it. Everyone here has me worried about us being related. Alright everyone, my girlfriend/sister/cousin and I appreciate all the comments. I am slightly bothered by the followers I've gotten, but I get it. Today was a long day, and tomorrow might be even longer if we can force some kind of answer out of our parents, hoping for the best. And now on to the update. So there is good news and there is awful news. The good news is there is no incest here. We're not related. The awful news is that our parents are poly and basically a foursome. We were trying to get an answer out of our parents all day yesterday, but they kept giving the same BS excuses. We called my girlfriend's older sister to see if she knew why they didn't want us together. We knew that she would try to help us because she definitely wanted us to be together. She caught the four of them together one time a few years ago and was told to keep it a secret. She told her grandparents about it, and it caused a big fight that eventually got resolved. We confronted our parents about it and they confirmed. It didn't start until all four of their children were born, so we are definitely not related. We asked them what they expected us to do, and they said break up so they could continue their relationship. They thought we had more of a brother-sister relationship and were surprised that it was actually romantic. Not really proud of it, but we flipped out on them. I don't have anything against the poly lifestyle, but it's weird when people you're close to are into it. We told them it's unfair of them to have a relationship that will be hidden forever, while my girlfriend and I can't have a public one. They said that we were young and would probably break up one day, so it's better to end it now to keep peace in the family. We left and went to stay at her sister's apartment. Now what? Why does this have to be so complicated? We can't just break up and pretend like nothing happened to please our parents. It is also super hypocritical of them to use the basically family excuse at first while they are doing the same effing thing. We are so lost right now. What should we do? And now in the comments, tell them their personal sexual relationships with each other have nothing to do with you. You are two adults and are allowed to be together. Exactly. Just because they want to fulfill their sexual needs doesn't mean you two can't be together. Strange as the family get-togethers would be, don't listen to them. You have every right to pursue a relationship with your girlfriend, and both of y'all's parents should want the best for you. Fight for this relationship because if they really cared about preserving their family, they wouldn't be acting this way. And OP says, we won't. It just sucks because we really thought this is something that everyone would be happy about. Now it's just weird. I am happy for you. Enjoy it. Your parents are just selfish and only care about themselves instead of their kids' happiness. Whether or not you make it isn't up for them to decide, so keep being with each other. And OP says, thanks, we will. Even more excited for college now because we are going far away from home. If they get to date, then you get to date. Spoiler alert, only the shittiest polyamorous people try to limit other people's relationships. Right? The irony of being in a polyamorous relationship, which is very much about challenging boundaries and norms, and then trying to dictate the relationships of others. I can't even pretend to understand the mental gymnastics that your parents are using to say that their poly relationship should have any bearing at all on your relationship with your girlfriend. But the good thing is that you and your girlfriend are both 18, you are not related, and both of your parents can just pound sand. Your relationship has nothing to do with their relationship. Have a sense of humor about this, and just continue on enjoying your relationship. They will get used to it after a while. And OP says, definitely glad that we're not related. Having a sense of humor definitely has gotten us through the last couple of days. When everyone here was saying that we were related, we were betting on how. Thought we figured it out too. Okay, the curiosity is killing me. How did you two handle the situation interpersonally while you didn't know the truth? And OP replies, so things have been weird since we went to prom. It's been awkward when everyone was around each other. We still kept acting like a couple when it was just the two of us. The past 2 days specifically have been awful for my girlfriend and I. Once people started suggesting we were related, we stopped any intimacy. Like I said in the comment above, we were just trying to laugh it off so we didn't lose our minds. Started joking around about who the affair baby was and who the partners were. Actually thought that we figured it out, and it was kind of an oh crap moment. My uncle died a year after we were born, and so we came up with the possibility that she was his child and was adopted by her parents after he passed. I don't know if this is the kind of answer you wanted, so if you want to know anything else, you can ask. The couple that pinboards their conspiracy theories with red string together stays together. Our next post is titled, I, 18 male, hate having sex with my girlfriend, 18 female, even though I am attracted to her. So we have been dating for 2 years and we've started to have sex recently. I love my girlfriend, I am attracted to her, but I don't know what the problem is. I feel good having sex with her, but it feels terrible afterwards. I feel like the only reason we have sex is because I want to make her happy and she likes having sex. We have tried different things, and most of them make me feel like crap, and the only thing that makes me feel great afterwards is giving her oral. It makes me feel great. I can't actually describe the feeling, really, but it feels like I'm on a drug of some kind, and I don't think it's about making her happy. The act makes me feel really happy, and it lifts my mood up for the whole damn day. I don't know. I haven't talked to my girl about this because I feel like this is a me problem and she has been perfect. I feel really terrible when I have sex. While having sex, the pleasure kind of overwhelms it, but after we finish, it is downright awful. I feel horrible. I don't know why I feel this way at all. And now in the comments, I dated a person like this, where going down on me and using their hands on me was the only sexual activity that they liked. Getting blowjobs or being touched made them very uncomfortable, and so we mostly stopped doing that. We never had penetrative sex because they were very uncomfortable with the idea. It turned out later that they were dealing with gender dysphoria, and where they had been born as and presented as a man, they actually realized they were a woman and began transitioning. We broke up before that realization. They cheated on me, but in hindsight, it made a lot of our sex things make sense. Someone else asks, is it shame? And OP says, it isn't. I thought so at first, but I don't feel ashamed about having sex, but like, something is wrong with me and not the act itself. My parents are pretty open about sex education, and I don't know, I'm not ashamed of having sex, but yeah. Maybe it's a brain chemical thing? I've heard of people who cry after sex, but I'm so glad to hear that it's not shame. How do you feel about your body generally? And OP says, fine, I guess. I'm fit and people say I'm attractive. What more can a guy want? Would you have any neurodivergencies? Depression? Anxiety? Anything? Maybe some chemical imbalances in your brain. Too much dopamine at once makes your brain produce less afterwards to bring it back to a balance, but maybe your brain compensates too much. Or any past traumas, even from a very, very long time ago. Or a religious upbringing that may be subconsciously drilled into the back of your head that sex equals bad. You should maybe talk to a therapist of some sort, even just bring it up to a counselor at school or a family doctor that can maybe direct you to a proper mental health expert. If you can't afford it, I know that there are a lot of free mental health services nowadays. All I know for certain is talk to your girlfriend. Sure, she might be a little disappointed, but it's not like you will be depriving her sexually. You are very motivated to give her oral. Maybe she can even find ways to help you through discussion. And now onto the update. So someone commented that a person they dated had the same holdups as I did, and then they came out as a trans woman. I used to dress up in my sister's clothes when I was young, but I stopped because my parents forced me to wear boys' clothes. I've been thinking about it, and the more I read, the more I realize it may be true. I may be a trans girl. I don't know, it's scary. I talked to my girlfriend about it, and she let me experiment with clothes. It felt great. Incredible even. We then had really great sex, which made me feel good, but then she started to avoid me. She told me that it was a lot to handle, and she couldn't handle it. She could see herself doing this in the bedroom as a sexy thing, but outside of it, she was uncertain. I understand that. It is a lot to take in, and we are on a break right now. I don't intend to get back with her. I love her, but I want to be single for a while as I figure this out. I talked to my parents, and I'm planning to go to therapy to figure it out. And now in the comments, she sounds like a nice friend. Hopefully it's not awkward, and you guys can share this beautiful memory of how she was a part of you discovering yourself. And OP says, she is really nice. We are both sad right now. It was the first real relationship we both ever had. It meant a lot to us, but honestly, this is a really nice time to split up. We have really great memories and we love each other. We have not hurt one another, but we can see that there is a lot of crap that is going to change in the next year, and that is without including my gender into it. Quit while you're ahead, right? Not necessarily the outcome expected, but probably the outcome you needed. Best of luck to you. I would have never guessed this is what was going on with OP. This is the magic of Reddit. All sorts of people from all different backgrounds read OP's story and gave OP insights that may improve their life. I was thinking abuse is in his, or her by now, childhood. Something that makes the act feel dirty and shameful to him/her. As a Catholic, I thought they might have been raised Catholic. Just stupid guilt over everything. Say OP is trans and a woman. Just because OP's girlfriend is supportive doesn't mean she's a lesbian. She may be interested in helping OP transition, but not interested in being in a relationship with a woman. This was my parents' experience. My step-parent came out as trans, but still expresses as a man and goes by he, him, because my mum is not a lesbian, and I think for him it was more important that he had my mum as a spouse than living life as a woman. My mum has been incredibly supportive, and they're happy, I think. But I used to be uncomfortable with my mum thinking she was the selfish one. But she never made the choice for him. He made it, and still chooses to identify as a man, despite identifying as trans. The whole thing makes me sad, to be honest. Honestly, neither of them are selfish, and my heart breaks for the both of them. My wife, 38 female, is convinced that she is pregnant, even though every pregnancy test, store-bought and medical, comes back negative. It's taking a toll on our marriage because she thinks that I'm going to abandon her and our twins. So this is all over the place. I really need help. My wife and I, male 42, have been married for 2 years, together for 15. All this time, we had either not decided to have kids or had problems getting pregnant. After some medical testing, we found out that it was near impossible to get pregnant due to some medical issues with her. We were thinking of adopting when one day she came home and told me that she was expecting. Of course, I was super happy. A week later, we had an appointment to the gyno and she had some blood drawn. The test came back negative and of course, I was devastated, but she wasn't. She claimed that she was pregnant and that the doctor was wrong. We took some more store-bought ones and they all came back negative. My wife is in complete denial. Now she claims that we're having twins. She's buying them clothes and decorations and is pressuring me to start with a nursery. I am at a loss and I don't know what to do. My inaction is making her believe that I want to leave them and that I'm going to doom my wife into the life of a single mom. What the hell is even happening? I love her, but I don't know what to do. Edit, forgot to add, I have tried talking her into therapy, but she accuses me of gaslighting her. And now in the comments, call the doctor who did the pregnancy tests and leave a message with the emergency number. They will be able to tell you who to contact. She has obviously had some sort of mental break. Just an FYI, at 19 weeks you would have had ultrasound pictures and gender determination, and she would have had several OBGYN visits. Is she doing practical things like taking prenatal vitamins and reading books, or is it all delusional and talk? Just wondering how far she's taking this scenario. And OP replies, I know. Also, she isn't showing at all. She is thin as always. Yes, she says that she can't lift heavy things, says she has pregnancy cravings, she buys clothes for the twins, she's even planning to take paid time off from work when the babies are here. This is really frightening, like those stories of people taking babies from a pregnant woman. You need to get her help ASAP. Was she all of a sudden 19 weeks, or has this been going on a while? What spurred her into thinking she was initially pregnant? Have you seen her have her period in this time so you can point out the obvious? And OP replies, she claimed she was pregnant about a week ago, but as of Friday, she says she's entered her 19th week. I really don't know what brought her to think that. She jumped to 19 weeks because she thinks the false negatives are due to the hook effect, which is a real thing where one of two things happens. 1. The HCG, pregnancy hormone that is detected in pregnancy tests, levels rise rapidly during your first few weeks of pregnancy, and then drop off, and then slowly rise again until birth. Sometimes, if you test in the drop-off phase, you get a false negative because the HCG levels are too low. Most tests expect you to test within the first months of pregnancy. Or 2, the HCG levels are so high that they don't form the molecule structures that the tests are looking for. There is also a theory that having twins can cause false negatives due to this secondary effect. I guarantee you she is reading all of this stuff online, and it's growing wild in her brain. I know this because this happened to me, on a less severe scale, when I was 18. I woke up one morning feeling sick out of nowhere, and my period was late, so I was convinced I was pregnant. I was on the pill, but I figured it had failed, and I panicked because I absolutely did not want that, especially with the person that I was with at the time. The tests I bought were negative, but I figured I was just testing too early. Then I got my period, but it was shorter than normal. More tests were still negative. Months went by, and I still felt nauseous in the mornings. I got acid reflux, bad bloating, and weird periods. Sometimes I had barely anything, other times it was spotting that lasted 2 months. I didn't tell anyone that I thought I was pregnant, but I just assumed that it was inevitable and that eventually we would find out for sure. I then went to the doctor about the spotting, and he just prescribed me higher estrogen pills. After a week on them, I felt several times worse. I had broken up with my boyfriend by then, so I just stopped taking them until I could go back on the others, and I very quickly felt much better. This was 7 months into my pregnancy, quote-unquote. To this day, I think it was a combination of the hormone pills that didn't work with me and severe stress. I spent way too much time learning about this online, but I didn't make myself part of the messed up cryptic pregnancy community because I didn't want to be pregnant. 11 years later, looking back, I should have gotten psychological help to process everything and recognize what was real and what wasn't. She needs help, whether it is voluntary or not. This will not get better on its own. And back up to the post, OP offers a little update/edit. Thank you guys. You really helped me out. Yesterday was a bad day, and you helped me get clarity. I've had a chat with our doctor who will now be handling this with us. I would like to thank most of you with useful advice, and hopefully I will be able to update good news someday. But an FU to those who said that I should divorce her because she is crazy, and an extra FU to the guy that used this post to push his anti-abortion agenda. And now on to the update. So it's not been that long, but I need again advice from you guys about the same topic. I called up our primary doctor and told him about the problem. He seemed very concerned and wanted us to come see him the next morning. He said that it was important to be gentle, but not feed into her delusions. I sat her down and we talked. All she wanted to talk about is when I would get the nursery started, and that we were on a time crunch, and how she has found a perfect color for the room, how she wants me to be more involved in her pregnancy. I tried to be very calm, but I was very perturbed by seeing her that way. I asked her to go to the doctor's with me tomorrow. She said yes, that she wanted to check on the babies either way. Now, I took some advice and words you gave me about being calm, and asked a bit about why she thinks she's pregnant without calling her delusional. So I did. She kept changing subjects or saying that a mother just feels it. You wouldn't know how it is. Then I said that I loved her really much, that I would never think of leaving her, but we need to go to the doctor to confirm her gut feeling. She then got very agitated and was crying, telling me that if I wanted to leave her, I should simply leave, but I shouldn't call her a liar. Somehow I managed to calm her down enough for her to go to sleep. After she did, I went on her computer. I do never snoop on her, but I remember a commenter pointing out forums about cryptic pregnancy, so I went in for a look. Oh boy, she was in 2 Facebook groups. One was a normal mummy Facebook group, and the other was a group about women that believed they were pregnant. In the normal group, she would post updates about her symptoms and pictures of her belly, and her story about how she was almost not able to have children, but that to the grace of God that kissed her tummy, the gift of life was given to her, and how she was compensated for all these years of suffering with twins. In the other group, the women were quite literally, and excuse me here, effing insane. They were feeding into each other's delusions. A woman said that she was almost 2 years pregnant, and how sometimes it just takes longer. My wife would post there complaining about doctors that do not take her seriously, and about me. Some women were making her fear that I would leave, saying things like men cannot stick to a woman. Many recounted their stories about how their marriages broke down because their spouses could not handle the pregnancy. I was really effing scared. I researched phantom pregnancies, and I read somewhere that that could also be a sign of schizophrenia, so to say the least, I could not sleep. I was, and am still, very afraid of losing her. She woke up, and I tried to act like nothing was wrong. We were going to the doctor, and it was as if nothing had happened yesterday. She was convinced that we were going to a pregnancy checkup. Things got really bad when we began talking to the doctor. He was really tactful when talking to my wife. He tried to explain to her that it was medically impossible that she was pregnant. We tried to show her tests, the ultrasound we did the day before, but nothing. She got more agitated and began to cry and scream at me for making her look like a crazy person. She began bouncing back and forth and holding her head with both hands. We could not calm her. She went in on a full-on panic attack. She could not breathe. The doctor laid her down and tried giving her some medicine for her to relax, but it didn't help as she didn't have the necessary tools to treat a panic attack that was that bad. She had to go to the hospital where they took care of her, did an EKG to exclude that she was suffering a heart attack. At that point, I really had no other option than to inquire about involuntary commit. So I could not do it myself. I needed my doctor's statement that she was a danger to herself and others, and he had to initiate the process of an involuntary examination of 72 hours. After that, we will have to submit a written statement to the court to determine whether or not she can stay there against her will. So far, I have submitted all of her posts in both Facebook groups, as well as the test we did with timestamps when possible. My wife is 2 days into the 3 days examination, and I have no contact with her. When I last saw her, she was furious with me. She said I was taking away her freedom, which I am. I feel horrible, dirty, and useless. She is so mad at me. I feel like I'm abandoning her, and I don't know how she will ever forgive me for this. I love her with all of my heart. I'm afraid of what will happen if the courts decide that I can't commit her, how our life will be affected, and I feel like I failed to protect her. At this point, I'm just rambling. Sorry for the long post. I guess I just need to vent because I have no one else to really turn to that just wants to listen. I feel judged by everyone and pitied. I just hate it, and I'm sorry for the spelling mistakes. Edit: I will not leave my wife, you unempathetic dickheads. When I gave my vows, I meant through illness and bad times. I am not only on the ride for the good times. If you truly love someone, you will do whatever it takes to see them healthy again. Would you leave your spouse if they went through a severe physical illness? I'm here to stay. I will not divorce her. She is not a frickin' psycho. She is sick. I hope no one of your loved ones ever has to go through this because their support net will consist of cowardly dickheads. Sorry for the rant, but if you want to say something like divorce that nut, then don't even bother. I understand people that make the choice to leave when the situation begins to mess with their mental health, and I respect that, but I won't do that. Edit 2, my wife didn't have a heart attack. She was examined because panic attacks register with similar symptoms as heart attacks. I don't exactly know what our doctor gave her, as I was so distraught, but it was not a sedative. I think it was something along the lines of Valium or Baldrian. Over-the-counter stuff mostly. She has family, but she is estranged from most of them. Her sister is now at our place to help. And now in the comments, I used to work in the involuntary commitment system. Everyone is upset with their loved ones when they get committed. Everyone. And it's a normal thing for family members and partners to feel a ton of guilt. But your wife needs help. You took the steps to get her that help, even though it was scary. You will not regret this. I had to involuntarily commit my husband. He has PTSD, and I got a phone call at work 40 minutes away in a different county that he loved me and that I shouldn't feel bad. I had to call 911 bawling my eyes out, knowing that he was having a bad week, and then call the emergency line for the county he was in. They connect you to the nearest one. When the police broke the door down, he was in the bathroom. He hid the razor before he came out. He was so mad at me. He hated me. He wanted a divorce. He never wanted to see me again. And to be honest, I was pretty angry too, not because of his mental illness, but because I felt so helpless. I wanted to say after a week of the adjusted meds, he called apologizing. He told me how thankful he was that I had called. He was thankful that I didn't budge on him being committed. He was thankful that he had someone who knew him well enough to know that he wasn't manipulating me. He had been pushing me away, which is a sign of being suicidal, and we had been fighting a lot because of it. You did the right thing, OP. You definitely have done the right thing for her well-being, no matter how angry she is now. She'll see it one day. I'm a schizophrenic, and I just want to say that once the doctors narrow down possibilities and diagnose her with something, she can then get treatment. I was involuntarily committed, twice actually, and those times I was so out of my mind that I don't even remember it once I was medicated. But according to my relatives, I was a woman possessed. So angry and threatening them, only to be weeping seconds later and begging them not to let them take me. I've apologized to them many times since about what I put them through, but it's hardly something that I wish to happen, and they understand that. I'm sure once she is treated and somewhat stable, she will understand why you did what you did. She might not forgive you at first, and she may pull away from you and others because it feels absolutely humiliating at first that you were so out of it you had to be sectioned. It may take some time, but you absolutely did the best thing for her and yourself. And now onto the final update. Hi guys, it's me again. We have a lot of time on our hands, so I thought why not update the community that helped me, even if it was just to let them know that I could vent. I don't even know how much time has passed, but I am very happy to say that things are working out. I have my wife's permission to share this with you all, and she's even telling me to greet you. After being in the 72-hour stay, it was determined that she had to stay there. My wife was pissed for the first few weeks. It was a devastating time, but time in therapy heals all wounds. Slowly, I was allowed to come visit, and every day I went, I saw a bit more of the person I loved. There were setbacks along the way, and I had to watch a lot of what I said and did. For example, the first few weeks she wouldn't tolerate touch or something like that. Our trust had to be regained slowly from both parties. We put so much work in, and even now that she's back home, and has been for a while, she sometimes has bad days where it's difficult for my wife to get out of bed, or where I am suspicious of her getting back into that state. But at the end of the day, I am happy. We go to counseling together, and we're on individual therapy as well, especially because due to stress I developed a form of anxiety, but every day it is a bit better. I have discovered new sides of my wife, like the new hobby that she has of making resin jewelry and decorations. Even our quarantine time has been quite peaceful. We still have remote therapy and everything. Things are not normal yet, and adoption is not back on the table as of now. We have given ourselves at least a year of therapy before we think about parenting and raising a child. One thing is for certain though, I am still in love with my wife and I still love her so much. Our relationship might not be better than ever, but it sure as hell is stronger than ever. Also, she has done a lot of self-reflection, and of course she has thanked me for how I handled things. She is lovely, and we are happy. And now in the comments, good on you for helping your wife get the help that she needs. That was a terrible experience, but you really stepped up. Even if things aren't perfect, you have both come a long way. I am so happy for you. Good to hear that things are looking up and you won't be considering adoption in the near future. Matter of fact, might be a good time to use some of those therapy sessions to start preparing yourselves for the likely possibility that you won't ever be able to adopt. Agencies have to say that an applicant's mental history isn't an automatic deal killer, but in reality, it often is. They simply cannot risk adopting out children to people suffering from such extreme mental illness that involuntary stays were required. It is all but a guarantee that they would never allow children to be placed under your wife's care. Thank God he took her to the doctor. He didn't tell us what the final diagnosis was, and that's fine, but I can only imagine how frightened he was for her. It sucks that so many of the original commenters were telling him that she was crazy and that he should leave. He made it very clear that he meant his marriage vows, and people should have respected that. You know, Reddit is filled with young people who have never been in a long-term relationship in their lives, and it is painfully obvious. So many people are ready to drop others like a rock because they are no longer convenient. Yeah, exactly. Someone acts strangely on a first date? That's not your problem, and you don't need to see them again. Your long-term partner starts acting strangely? You are there to support them through anything and everything. Well, mostly yes, but there are limits. Violent spouses, repeatedly relapsing addicts, and any cases where one person just isn't able to help, but will be dragged down to hell with their partner. Bad luck and honest effort will get my support. Neglect and abuse will not. I love this guy. I am entirely in his corner, rooting for him, his wife, and their future. As someone who has been through horrific mental health crises, it is so good to see how upset he gets when people suggest divorce. He is so in love that he sees her as a whole, not just for the short hiccups in life. I hope that as a part of her therapy, she stays off of social media. Those Facebook groups can be so toxic when it comes to actually helping. Yes, some of the worst advice I have ever seen has come from those groups, always touted as the truth. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for getting upset and telling my dad his girlfriend didn't buy me a Starbucks drink?" I, 17 female, have been living with my dad, 45 male, his girlfriend of 2 years, 33 female, and her daughter, 13 female, for a couple of months now, while my mum, 40 female, is visiting my sick grandfather in Sweden. I have only ever stayed at my dad's on weekends, so it's been hard to get used to living with his girlfriend and her kid full time. The kid is super whiny and pretty spoiled because the girlfriend dotes on her, so I usually just stay in my room. Today, girlfriend was taking her daughter on a special outing because she passed a math test, and my dad suggested I go with them for a girls' day out. I wanted to say no, but I knew that he wanted me to get to know his girlfriend and girlfriend's daughter better, so I agreed. He gave girlfriend $300 to spend during the outing. We spent the day going in and out of stores that girlfriend's daughter liked in the mall complex. Girlfriend ended up buying her a crap ton of clothes, makeup, and other stuff that I don't remember. On our way back home, girlfriend stopped at the Starbucks because daughter wanted a drink and some cake pops. She ordered a drink for her and her daughter and 2 cake pops. I asked her if I could get something, and she said that she ran out of money and she'd get me something next time. When they got their order, I asked if I could have some of the cake pops, and girlfriend said that it was her daughter's treat for hard work, and it would be wrong for me to take one since I didn't do anything that deserved being rewarded. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset. When we got back home, my dad saw their drinks and asked where mine was. I told him that I wasn't allowed to get one because I don't deserve it. His girlfriend got upset and said that I was twisting her words, and the daughter just said that I was just being greedy and was jealous of her. I know that I'm not entitled to a drink or a cake pop, but I also don't think that it's wrong to be a little annoyed. Am I the asshole? God, I just hate it when people are so conniving like this. Because those are definitely reasons that a lot of people, I imagine, get in their day-to-day lives when they're on the receiving end of favoritism like this. Oh yeah, sorry, we're out of money. I can only get it for me and my daughter. We'll have to get you one next time. Oh, you didn't do anything that deserved being rewarded. You don't deserve anything, I'm sorry. Those words are just such a punch in the gut, especially for someone at 17 years old. This girlfriend is a complete piece of trash and absolutely not the asshole on your end. And now in the comments, oh sweetie, not the asshole, and I want you to know that you absolutely were entitled to a drink and a cake pop or another treat of your choosing. Your dad gave her $300 that was meant to be spent on all 3 of you for the day out. Sure, her daughter may have earned something special for her hard work at school, but from the sound of it, he intended for all of you to get treated a bit. And it's disgusting that she would go to a coffee shop and get things for herself and her daughter, and not for you. As someone older than your dad even, I can tell you that his girlfriend's behavior was super not okay, and not the way she should be treating her partner's kid. None of my friends would ever treat their stepkids or partner's kids that way in a million years. I am so sorry that happened to you, and I'm really glad that you told your dad. She deserves to get yelled at. And OP replies, "Thank you. You have really made me feel better." You were nowhere in the wrong for being annoyed about the way that they treated you, and the two of them should be ashamed of themselves for manipulating the situation, and by extension your father, once they got called out for their nasty behavior. The $300 was for all three of you. The least they could have done was give you a $3 cake pop. The fact that they didn't even want to do that should be a clear indication to your father that they cannot be trusted around you. OP deserved every single cake pop that store had for enduring the girlfriend's blatant cruelty while still maintaining her composure. OP, you have more class, maturity, and patience than many adults. I know you may doubt if telling your dad was the right thing, but let me assure you that you handled it perfectly. If you made a scene in the store or yelled at her on the car on the way home, the girlfriend would have used that to manipulate the narrative with your dad. She would have gone on the offense the instant she saw him, saying how problematic you were by throwing a temper tantrum the whole time. When you would naturally react to deny her lies, she would point at you and say, "See what I mean? She just keeps arguing and being disrespectful. You should have seen how embarrassing she was at the mall." When you remained composed until your dad asked where your drink was, you took away some of your girlfriend's power. You also stood up for yourself, which I am so incredibly proud of you for. That woman was depending on your silence, thinking that she had crushed your spirit. She didn't succeed because of your inner strength and resolve. I want you to be proud of yourself for that. I know that you aren't really a child anymore, but there is still a lot of things that you learn over time with experience. Eventually, you are going to look back at this moment and realize how much more heartless the girlfriend is than you had thought. She is likely seeing you as competition for your father's time, money, and love. To be so callous towards you shows a serious gap in compassion and empathy, but it goes beyond that. She willfully chose to hurt you, trying to make you feel like an interloper. Please believe me when I say absolutely none of her behavior was your fault. You did nothing wrong to deserve such treatment. Her actions are because of her own problems. I know that I'm just an internet stranger, but I truly am proud of you. And now on to the update. So I just finished talking to my dad. I explained everything that happened at the mall, and he apologized and said that he'll be returning everything that was bought and will be taking a day off work tomorrow so we could do something together. He also put up girlfriend and daughter in a hotel so that I can have space from them, and said they'll be staying there until my mum gets back. Once I'm ready to see them, he said they will apologize to me, and once my mum comes back, he is going to have a talk with girlfriend. And now in the comments, wow, your dad is awesome. Actually paying attention to his daughter's needs and not dismissing the BS the girlfriend is trying to pull. Now he just needs to cut her loose for her treatment of you, and he'd be near perfect, since we all have room for improvement. This is an amazing update. I love that your dad is returning all the things bought. It may help daughter be a little less entitled. I'm still tending towards thinking that possibly your dad had an inkling that something like this was going on, and that's why he asked about the Starbucks. Many dads would be just like, "Oh, she's already finished her drink, so great work on your dad." That's a good point. $300 is quite an odd number, and it's pretty clear that he intended $100 per person, so everyone will be covered. He knew girlfriend was going to pull something like this. It probably wasn't the first time. OP said her dad always watched out for her, so he has definitely noticed something like this going on for some time now. It's sad that it's a pleasant surprise on Reddit to see a parent actually siding with their kid, but I'm glad for OP. If it makes you feel better, happy people don't tend to post on Am I the Arsehole, so there's probably way more good parents than it seems. Dear Reddit, today I had a nice outing with my parents. There were no arguments, just a pleasant time out. Unfortunately, it's just not very noteworthy. In the wise words of Florence Welch, the older I get, I find that happiness is an extremely uneventful subject. The fact that Dad pushed for them to have a girls' day kinda tells me that it was supposed to be fun for everyone, but girlfriend just decided, nah, let's be a total cow, F my partner's kids, only we deserved good things. Never understood people that picked partners with kids and then decide to treat said kid like crap intentionally. Maybe don't date a single dad then? And no, of course someone's kid is not their whole personality, yada yada, but they kinda come in a package deal. Some people are so petty that they think this is the perfect partner for me, except for this obsession with insert anything they really care about here, and spend the entire relationship trying to separate them from it. Hobbies, family members, tastes, whatever. In their mind, they are helping the partner to achieve their best selves. That consists in following their standards. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend she is embarrassing? I, 37 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 21 female, for about 4 months, and it's going great. She's super fun and outgoing, and I love that about her. My only issue in our relationship is how she presents herself. She's got all these piercings and tattoos, wears a lot of makeup, and pretty revealing clothing. The other day, it was my birthday, and I invited her to go out for drinks with my friends and she could meet some friends that she hasn't met before. I asked her to tone down her makeup and outfits a little, and she said yes she would. Later that evening, she meets us at the bar and she's wearing a tight little flower dress that shows off all of her tattoos, these black high heels and dark red lipstick, and had those big eyeliner wings, and she still had all her facial piercings in. All my friends stared at her. I ignored it and tried to have a nice time, but I could tell my friends were laughing at her and judging me. When she came over later that night, she asked why I seemed so distant and angry. I told her that she said she would tone down her outfits when meeting my friends, and she couldn't even do that for me on my birthday. She had embarrassed me in front of friends that I hadn't seen in a long time. She apologized and she said she thought she looked pretty and I would like the outfit. She went to bed and left in the morning and hasn't returned my calls. My mum thinks I'm not the asshole, but should have just left it alone. Am I the asshole? Now to the comments. You're the asshole, obviously. Maybe everyone is staring because you are dating a girl that is 16 years younger than you. I am increasingly convinced we need some kind of class or PSA for young women. Girl, he isn't with you because you're mature for your age and not like the other girls. He's with you because he's still mentally 21 himself. Women his age won't tolerate him, and younger women are typically more malleable, and he's a control freak like OP. Let's not blame this one on the woman. It's the guys who need to learn to go for people their age instead of grooming these poor girls. See, I think you're both right. Like, yes, it's definitely not the woman's fault because someone 10 plus years her senior decided to go after her, but being aware of the true intentions will also make it harder for the older creep to be able to groom her. You're the asshole, and so are your friends. I hope she realizes she can do better. Date women your own age, bro. So I'll say it. I don't think the friends were laughing at the girlfriend for how she looked. I think they were laughing at the fact that OP was dating someone young enough to be his daughter. I completely agree. If they had never met her before, he might have been completely lying about her in either appearance or the she's super mature for her age BS. They are laughing at his obvious midlife crisis. Man pushing 40 dates beautiful, confident, alt-style 21-year-old. Never heard that before. Massive you're the asshole. If you're embarrassed by the way she looks, why are you dating her? There are plenty of people who wouldn't be ashamed to be seen with her, and she deserves someone like that. Not someone nearly twice her age who is going to shame her. She doesn't need 2 dads. This has to be a joke, right? You're the asshole, and in no way will any sane person agree with you. You are dating a girl who has tattoos, piercings, and likes to wear makeup, but you're embarrassed by it. Do you think you're going to change her? I don't expect her to return your phone calls. Your friends can F off for judging her too, by the way. And now on to the update. She texted me and said that we're over and she'll be getting her stuff from my apartment. Her and her older brother will be over in an hour. And now in the comments, oh man, I love happy endings. Quote, her dad's a major asshole who hates me and thinks we should break up. No daddy issues, but a shitty dad. Gee, I wonder why. Sounds like a great dad to me. He knew. Exactly. If her relationship with her dad is good and her dad hates you, guess which one of you is likely to be the asshole here? But his mommy doesn't think he's the asshole. Gotta love a 21-year-old doing what she wants with confidence and a 37-year-old whining, "Mommy said I was right." I wonder if the friends were really judging her outfit or if they didn't realize how much younger she was and were actually judging him. In the comments, he said he asked her to cover up her anti-cop tattoo because his best friend was a cop. But yeah, probably also that. I'm assuming ACAB. Yes, with a possum. But he mentioned sometimes that saying gets deleted, so I didn't put it. Wait, what's the ACAB and possum connection? Possums are kinda popular on left-wing internet spaces. For some people, like anarchists and crust punks, they have some deeper meaning. But I think most people just like that they are cute and kind of unorthodox, and don't have any real connection. I mean, this woman didn't change her entire appearance in 4 months. She likely didn't have the style of a 65-year-old librarian when they met. He must have liked it at least a little. Control freaks confuse me. They must actually look at someone and think, yup, she has the body type I like, she can change everything else. It's not like that. He likes pierced, tattered women in tight, short clothes. He just doesn't want his family and friends to know that is his taste because he feels it reflects poorly on him. It's like the chubby chasers who only date curvy women but refuse to take them out in public. As someone who comes from a family that's basic and have never really been around people with unique tastes, dating my current partner had me nervous. She had pretty cool and wild outfits and hairstyles, and I felt embarrassed at first. I had to kick myself in the ass hard to realize that I'm dating her because I like her style and I shouldn't be afraid of having her around my family. Couple years later, and it's my favorite thing about her. I encourage all of her outfits no matter where we go, including around my family. Our next post is titled, I gave my friend power of attorney and now I want it back, but he's making it difficult. Long story short, my friend wants to go to law school but has no experience. He asked if he could be my power of attorney to get some experience, and I agreed because I wanted to help him out. But I'm not happy with what he's doing, and I can't figure out how to make him stop. When we were out for drinks with friends one time, he saw the debit card that I was using and said that it was a bad bank. Next thing I know, I'm trying to use the card, and it's not working. Turns out he pulled all my money out, closed the account, and opened a new one with a different bank plus a credit card with the bank. When he gave me the new cards, I explained that I liked the old bank because they have branches in my home state that I can use when I go home for summer from school. The new bank doesn't. I also really don't believe in credit cards and never wanted one. I have enough student loan debt anyway. But he said this bank was better, and credit cards make more sense, and he was doing me a favor. He also requested all my medical records from the student health center and let it slip in front of friends that I'm taking an antidepressant. A girl that I like in our group doesn't believe in them, and now she's really not talking to me anymore. I've brought up to him that I'm kind of not happy with this arrangement, but he said that he needs the power of attorney for a few more months to show his law school applications that he has relevant experience, especially if he can't get a legal job this summer between our junior and senior years. I'm having car trouble, and he keeps trying to involve himself in the repair process and bully the mechanic, and it makes me super uncomfortable, but I don't want to hurt his chances at law school. I'm in California. Now in the comments, he is scamming you. Go to a lawyer now. There is no way that he can make it hard for you to get him out. Get his POA status revoked, and go over everything he had access to. Lord only knows what else he may have been screwing with. This dude is not your friend. If there is any way to, and make sure you ask a lawyer about this, I would see if charges could be brought up against them. You don't need experience effing with your friends to get into law school. I'd tell him he's done immediately, and if he doesn't respond to that, then send a certified letter stating the same. Once he receives that, anything he does could be criminal. That should get this asshole's attention. As for the medication, tell this idiot to read up on privacy laws and fiduciary responsibility. He will need to understand that well as an attorney. And now on to the update. About a week after my original post, I talked with my friend and said that I appreciated all his help, but it was getting to be a hassle, and I'd prefer to manage my own stuff from here on out. He was disappointed but understood. All in all, it was a mixed experience. There were some positives. He was more aggressive negotiating with the mechanic than I would have liked, but in the end, the mechanic knocked $200 off the bill. Also, I've come around to like the credit card that he opened for me. I'm going to be able to use the points to get a free flight home next semester. There were some negatives too. He discovered that 2 of the classes that I needed to graduate were being offered at the nearby community college this semester, so he signed me up to try and save me some money. But when he requested that, my current school sent transcripts to the community college. That almost made me lose a scholarship with my actual school. I had to basically beg and plead with the financial aid office, but in the end, it all worked out. Also, that girl who I liked who found out that I'm on antidepressants tried to cause some drama in our friend group about me, but I'm over it now. People were pretty critical in the previous post and kept saying that I was being scammed, but that's not at all what happened. He just needed some experience to put on his applications. Also, lots of people said this wouldn't help with law schools, but I'm not pre-law, so I don't know one way or another. I signed a letter of reference for him because I'm not going to stand in the way of his dreams, and on the whole, he helped by being my power of attorney. Now in the comments, OP never understood what power of attorney means or believed any of the replies. Some would wonder why he posted if he was going to just ignore everyone. I think he was hoping people would reassure him that this was fine and normal so that he wouldn't have to confront the friend. At least he dodged a massive bullet by blowing his chances with the girl he was into. She sounded like a nightmare, and OP sounded like the type of guy to excuse all of her terrible behavior if they had ever gotten together. Bullet dodged, but it's still frankly disturbing to think that his friend got access to his medical records and then shared that information. Yikes. Even if this time it wasn't a scam per se, OP is definitely gonna get scammed at some point. I'm literally wondering how many years until OP finds out what really went down. Yup. OP doesn't have any sense at all. I was thinking that maybe OP is actually a bit simple, like some people with lower IQ do get into university and college because they study and remember things well, but don't really have that much common sense. And I say this as a special ed teacher. OP reminds me of some of my students. They do well in school, but believe everything other people tell them and are unbelievably naive. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my fiancé I won't proceed with our wedding if he insists on inviting his female friend?" So my 29 female, fiancé, 32 male, has a female best friend since childhood. Now, I'm not the kind of person who gets jealous over my partner being friends with the opposite gender. I'm bisexual, so it wouldn't be rational of me to have some weird expectations like this. Plus, my fiancé has many female friends as a straight guy, and I have friends of both genders as well. What bothers me here is not the gender of the friend, but whether or not they are able to respect boundaries. So I'd make the same small talk if the friend in question was a male. So to the point, his female best friend Rachel has always been in competition with me regarding on who's more important and a bigger priority to my fiancé. At first, my fiancé failed to stand up to her and set boundaries, but after a small break we had, and after we reconciled, he realized the importance of boundaries and set hard boundaries with her. I know that whenever she sees me or hears about me, she is not happy, but we act kind to each other despite our actual feelings. This situation, by the way, has been rolling out for the past 5 years that I've been with my fiancé. When he proposed, Rachel didn't congratulate us at all, and completely overlooked our entire engagement and kept referring to me as my fiancé's girlfriend. My fiancé kept correcting her each time, even telling her how she's not funny or quirky doing this, she's just disrespectful. And after a certain point, she stopped. Now that we are planning our wedding, we picked out some groomsmen and bridesmaids, and my fiancé has his female friend as one of his groomsmen, a groomswoman. After my fiancé asked her to join that role, she texted me a lengthy paragraph, which, to sum it up, said, "Just so you know, your fiancé and I are still each other's priority. You may marry him and have kids with him, share a house with him, but right now he picked me as a groomswoman, knowing how that would bother you because he cares about not hurting my feelings more than your feelings. You can't easily ruin friendships like that. Just stay in your lane and accept your place. You might be his wife, but I'm his friend, and I'm not going anywhere. Make peace with it, and who knows, soon enough we might get along." I showed my fiancé, and he said that he'll deal with her, and I shouldn't worry. I told him that I have had enough, and that the only solution I'm accepting is proper consequences for her actions. That means she is either dropped as a groomswoman or uninvited. He makes the call for which one it will be, but I'm tired of his best friend not having real consequences for her actions and getting her way. I won't trust him enough to proceed with our wedding if he doesn't set clear limits and make his friend face the consequences of her behavior. He said what I'm doing is very unfair because he is not responsible for her actions, and feels like I'm putting unnecessary responsibility and pressure on him. Am I the asshole? And now in the comments, not the asshole, but Rachel wasn't wrong when she said he cared more about her feelings than yours. Please consider if you want to be the second most important person in your marriage. Not the asshole. You are not being remotely unfair. The only response to that text is him telling her to get the F out. Not just in regards to the wedding, to his entire life. If someone had sent something half as bad to my husband, I would let them know they were, for all intents and purposes, dead to me. I would not marry this man unless he takes appropriate action. This is insanity. Exactly right. If a friend of mine spoke to my husband like that, they would be instantly out of my life. Yes, indeed, OP is not the asshole. However, if fiancé dumps Rachel, uninvites her to wedding, or demotes her from groomswoman, she will ratchet it up and do who knows what. She ain't given up without a major fight. She will try anything to break you two up and try to make you miserable. Also, likely spread many rumors. Be aware. Edit to add, might want some security for the wedding and reception if there is even a remote possibility of Rachel doing some sabotage. Beware. Not the asshole. If your fiancé's response to Rachel is anything other than, "What the hell is wrong with you, and I don't want you in my wedding or my life until you apologize to my future wife and realize that she is my priority from now on," then I think you are right to be concerned that he does indeed care more about her feelings than yours. She is way out of her lane sending you a message like that. Like, who the hell does that? Your fiancé might not be responsible for her behavior, but he is responsible for setting boundaries with his friends around how they treat you, and boundaries mean nothing without consequences. You are right to expect him to set the tone now for what he will allow Rachel to get away with, and to refuse to get married until he shows that you are truly his priority, even when it puts him in the middle of a conflict. And now on to the update. So this update probably came sooner than I expected, and maybe than you expected as well. While I had this post up, I was sitting next to my fiancé. I told him that I don't want to ask feedback from family and friends, and I don't want them involved in our drama, so I would rather get some unbiased feedback here. He's been reading some of the responses, and while at first he was very defensive over his actions, he has just now started realizing on how he has to reflect on this a bit more. I also explained to him once again, in detail, on why what I think Rachel is doing is bad, and how it might destroy not just our relationship, but any future relationship he might get, even after we break up, because no person would be willing to stand for that disrespect. We are having a chat about it now, and he is thinking of distancing himself from Rachel. Edit 2, for the record, he decided to uninvite her from the wedding completely, and later distance himself from her. Now in the comments, I get the feeling that this is not actually concluded until Rachel finds out and the wedding is over. Shit's gonna go down. OP had a comment that fiancé was calling Rachel to tell her, but she wouldn't pick up, so he texted her to say that she was no longer invited. Her response was, "I'm at work. I'll call later." Yup, this crap isn't over. I feel like that crap is going to involve law enforcement and the fire department because Rachel doesn't seem sane nor rational to me. My faith in this marriage is not the least bit restored. Rachel literally just spelled out her plan like a Bond villain. The man is either utterly spineless or really does want Rachel as a backup side piece. Either way, not marriage material. It's kinda weird that he didn't uninvite her immediately after seeing that text. She wasn't just being rude and deeply disrespectful to OP, but to him too. It's because he wants to do nothing. He wants to hope that it goes away. He likes the attention. He likes having Rachel on his hook. An emergency escape, if you will. And Rachel was the one that did the crazy thing. But she isn't asking him to confront an awkward situation. She's creating it, but not making him do anything about it. So his now wife gets the blame because she's making him do something. Am I the asshole for not letting my sister stay with us after how she explained her job to my 14-year-old daughter? I want to start by saying that I fully support my sister's career choice, and I'm not interested in comments debating the morality of what she's doing. My sister is an escort. She came to visit us last weekend. She was planning on spending the summer with us since we haven't seen each other for 3 years. When she told us about this, my daughter was ecstatic. They have a great relationship, and she helped me raise her after her mum died. When my parents first found out about my sister's job, they denounced her, told her that she was bringing shame to the family and that she was going to rot in hell. I tried convincing them to change their minds and that treating my sister that way isn't going to do anything good, but they told me that it's none of my business and that I should stop defending her. My sister became depressed because of that, and she stopped working. When she couldn't afford rent, I brought her to my house and I told her that she's my baby sister and that I will always be by her side and take care of her no matter what. She started getting better week by week, and after a few months, she got back to her former happy self. Back to the present day. Last Friday, when I got back home from work, I overheard them talking in my daughter's room. My daughter was asking her aunt about her job, and she started telling her about how much fun it is and that she gets to visit many new places and meet new people, and how she gets to decide when she wants to work, which allows her to take breaks whenever she wants, so she gets to visit and spend all summer with us. My daughter told her that her job is so cool, and how she's looking forward to spending time with her and all the fun activities they will get to do in the summer. The next morning, I told my sister that I overheard them and that I didn't appreciate the way she explained her work, making it seem all fun with no downside. She told me that my daughter wasn't old enough to hear about the dangerous stuff. I told her that she doesn't get to decide that, and that since she felt that my daughter was old enough for her to hear about her job, then she's definitely old enough to hear about the downsides. When my sister was living with us, I had to always be on alert. Many times she called me to get her out of uncomfortable and dangerous situations. I had to wake my neighbor in the middle of the night multiple times to watch my daughter while I went to get her. And to this day, she still sends me her location whenever she is meeting someone so that I could alert police in case she doesn't text me afterwards. I told her that she needs to leave by the end of the week if she doesn't want to explain the risks of her job in age-appropriate terms to my daughter. She told me I was cruel for doing this because I know how much they love each other and how much she was looking forward to spending time with us. And now in the comments, not the asshole. Your sister shouldn't have been glorifying her job to your 14-year-old daughter. It genuinely creeps me out that, from what you were saying, she was also using the exact same selling points that human traffickers use on young women. Okay, this needs to be top comment. Not to shame sex work, I have no problems with it, but this is exactly right. I don't think your sister is malicious, but it absolutely mirrors what any pimp would tell a 14-year-old, which is beyond problematic. Quote, she told me that my daughter wasn't old enough to hear about the dangerous stuff. That part was especially egregious. It is inherently a dangerous job, at least way more than average if you want to put it mildly. Traffickers, clients, even law enforcement are huge dangers unique to such a job. It's not starting an OnlyFans. The dangers are way more severe here. And to be honest, OnlyFans can be dangerous too. I have seen plenty of women bragging on TikTok about how much they make and teens gushing that they can't wait to start. Not the asshole. Your daughter is 14. She is prime prey material for predators. She should be totally made aware of risks and self-protection. Your sister might be trying to be the cool aunt and not be judged by your daughter, but you're the parent and your priority is definitely your daughter. I would say try not to drive a wedge between them in case your daughter gets resentful and rebels. Maybe just tell your sister you will be explaining the risks to your daughter whether she likes it or not. It's going to carry a hell of a lot more weight coming from the aunt, since she's both the actual sex worker in this case and that OP is a man. Nothing against OP, just I'm sure a 14-year-old girl is more likely to take it seriously from the woman who's lived it than from her father who has a clear and vested interest in her not becoming a sex worker. Teenagers are little contrarians. And now onto the update. So I spoke with my sister in the early morning while my daughter was still asleep. I explained to her how much it is important to me that she talks to my daughter about the risks of her job because she would actually listen to her aunt more than me, especially now when she reached the stage of "Dad isn't cool anymore and you are wrong" to whatever I say to her. And I reminded her how much I want us to spend the summer together. I told her that I am not young anymore and it's unlikely that I will be there for my daughter when she grows up the same way that I was there for her, so I need to know if I could count on her. I reminded her that she isn't obligated to share details with her and just mention the bad side generally, and then we can both answer any questions that she might have together if she isn't comfortable answering them alone. She apologized, saying that she was selfish and admitted she should have thought about me and my daughter first instead of refusing because she thought my daughter isn't old enough to hear about the bad side, and promised that she will talk to my daughter about this over breakfast. I overheard the whole conversation, and like I thought, my daughter was very receptive of her aunt. My sister was reluctant at first, but after seeing her niece's engagement, they ended up talking for over an hour, sharing her good and bad experiences and some funny stories. She even told her about how I stood up for her against our parents after their reaction, and the many times that I came to her rescue. I told my sister afterwards how much I appreciate what she did for me and her niece, and she assured me that she will always be there for me, and that she'll always take care of her niece like I did with her. In the afternoon, while I was working in the garage, my daughter came to me and hugged me, saying that she loves me. I was fighting tears, and I failed because it was the first time in over a year that she had hugged me, and I think it was the first time since primary school that she said, "I love you," to me. I still told her I love her every day, but she didn't say it back, and even though I understand that it's normal for some teenagers, it was actually heartbreaking for me each time she didn't say it back. She watched me work for a few minutes and left without saying anything. I want to thank you all for your comments and advice. To the people who told me that I must insist on my sister talking to her and not accept her refusal, and also to the people who informed me about the risks of trafficking. And while I am glad that that wasn't the case, I appreciate it because it made me take this much more seriously. And also to all the other valuable comments and tips. I am honestly just relieved after a long week of stress, and this made me realize again how lucky I am to have both of them in my life. And now in the comments, great update. Love to see how no one here is the arsehole in the end, and all ended good. Good handling from you and your sister, OP. Thumbs up. And OP replies, "Well, I was the asshole, but I didn't want people to judge me, so I admitted it, but here, please judge me the asshole. The amount of dad jokes I've been making is astronomical, and even though they start rolling their eyes asking me to stop, I don't think I have the ability to do that." It's something that happens to the dad brain. I would give anything to hear one of my father's stupid jokes again, like get in the trunk with the rest of the bags, or when he was hammering something, he'd point to where he was going to hammer and say, "Put your finger right here." The worst was when I was sitting outside the house with my boyfriend, and he was remodeling the bathroom. He came out with the toilet and yelled, "Bow low, daughter, here goes your throne." My boyfriend almost died laughing, and me? I just wanted to die. I miss my father. And OP replies, He sounds like he was a good dad and a funny man. I really liked his joke. I wasn't even planning on remodeling the bathroom, but now all I want to do is break the toilet and replace it so I could make this joke, and at the same time, I don't want my daughter to kill me. My heart broke when he talked about how hard it was that his daughter didn't say "I love you" back to him. I was a real pill as a teen, but I don't think I could deny saying "I love you" to a family member who said it first. Poor guy. I hope that stage passes soon. Me too. Daddy hugs. I remember telling mine when I was 5 or 6, when he dropped me off at school, that I was too old for hugs. The look on his face didn't hit me until I got inside, and then I cried. I never did that again, even in my teens. I hope her phase passes soon too. And also, painting sex work as all positives, no downsides, is just begging for the daughter to be taken advantage of. There are so many people that take advantage of young women, and she would be receptive of it because she thinks it's all sunshine and rainbows. It was a dangerous notion that I am glad got nipped in the bud. That's actually how trafficking typically works. It's not someone kidnapping your kid at Target, it's another girl telling your kid how fun their job is, and then bringing them along one time to a party and introducing them to their pimp. Then they get roped in after doing it just one time. That's how Epstein got all of his girls. They were hunting for prey in dance studios. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for not compromising on where we go to lunch because of my food allergy?" So a while ago, I was awarded for my work. It's not valuable, just a framed certificate, but it was voted on by my peers, and I'm a bit chuffed. That weekend, I turned 40. On the Monday, my manager Janine and her boss Cara said they wanted us to celebrate these events as a team, and asked where I would like to go for lunch. I was conflicted because there has been a history of disputes around my food allergy. In short, they always go to a nearby Chinese restaurant, but I'm allergic to soy, which features in Chinese food. Cara has involved HR to find a solution, but so far, they have been about as useful as a chocolate teapot. In meetings though, they have insisted they want to include me, and this was the first time they had asked for my suggestions. So in the end, I suggested a new Indian restaurant that my partner and I had been to. I told Janine. I knew Indian wasn't everyone's fave, so if there were any problems, I'd suggest something online. Janine said, "There's nothing wrong with Indian. Ooh, yum yum yum." 2 days later, Cara emailed that we were having lunch to celebrate my award and my big 4-0 at the Indian restaurant. Unfortunately, I was talking to Janine at the time that Cara's email arrived. Janine did have some issues with Indian food, which she alerted me to by screaming them in my face and having a meltdown. I calmed Janine down, and then went back to my desk and broke down myself. Carolyn, manager of the next team, came over and consoled me. I was shaking so badly. Carolyn filled in the incident report for me, and then emailed Janine and Cara to say that I was leaving work and drove me to my GP. GP gave me a week off work. Now I'm back at work, and it's bad. Cara postponed lunch until I was better, and expected it to still go ahead as planned. Janine wants it moved to the Chinese restaurant that they always go to, and HR is backing Janine because she is not coping with the change, and I should accommodate her. I shot back with accommodating Janine could kill me in the process. I just want the whole thing to drop because I am fed up. Ha ha. Cara wants to be the peacemaker and has suggested that I meet them halfway. I don't know where halfway is, and I can't be bothered finding it. Cara, Janine, and HR all say that I'm the asshole for not being prepared to compromise on where we go out for lunch. I need fresh perspectives on this. Am I the asshole? By the way, the two restaurants are literally across the road from each other. I'm gonna say that Janine is an absolute psycho in this situation. You told Janine, "Hey, I'd like to go to Indian. I know Indian's not everyone's favorite. If there's a problem, I would suggest something else." And Janine said to your face, "Oh, no, Indian. Nothing wrong with Indian. Oh, yum, 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 yum." She knew. She damn well knew that you were going to get Indian food. And then you got the email 2 days later, and instead of having a normal, conventional reaction to this news, she blows up in your face. She has a meltdown in your face. She in fact did have issues with Indian food. She alerted you by screaming them in your face and having a meltdown. Janine is unhinged. She is a problem. It was so bad that you had to have a week off of work and go to your GP. I feel bad for you, OP, because it seems like everyone is against you in this situation. There is no meeting you halfway in this situation. Peace was never an option. You're not the asshole. Now in the comments, not the asshole. So what I would like to do is act like I'm gonna go, ask if they're gonna go decorate, get a cake, etc., make them go above and beyond, and then when lunch rolls around, leave. For the day. Heck, maybe even the week. She can have her stinking Chinese food. You, not the asshole. Janine, major asshole. Seriously, how is she not fired for acting like that? Over food. Sounds like she has some problems that she needs to fix, but off the clock and in a professional setting. Kara, slight asshole. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but from how you described her, it seems as if she's trying to be a straight-up people-pleaser. She's going along with the majority because she wants to be the unproblematic, cool boss, which doesn't seem to work in real life. Stick to your guns, OP. Maybe even tell them to cancel. Not the asshole. Isn't the obvious compromise to go to a third restaurant? And OP says, neither Kara nor Janine want that. I'm just here going, well, I got nothing else. Maybe we just forget about this one. I absolutely hate it when higher-ups are like, oh, person 1 is throwing a fit? That's hard to handle. Let's just get person 2 to bend over backwards so person 1 isn't an issue anymore. They do this instead of just dealing with person 1. Happens a lot at my job. Not the asshole. This has me so heated. Your employer, boss, HR, has absolutely no right, legally or otherwise, to dictate where you eat, whether or not you have an allergy. Put your foot down and tell them you won't be attending. They're all toxic AF. And now back up to the post. Quick update. Wow, I woke up to about 600 new comments. I'll try to get to as many comments as I can. But a note for all the people calling me a snowflake or similar because I took a week off from work, I had PTSD from a traffic accident and road rage incident. I was the passenger and was still trapped in the car when the other driver attacked my side and screamed abuse at me. Having Janine scream at my face brought back those intrusive memories of the accident. It is not weak or being a snowflake to have a psychological injury. It is not weak to get qualified help when you need it. Update. Meeting Friday morning with myself, Kara, HR, and the union dialing in. Senior HR person also dialing in to observe. Update 2, Thursday. I was offered a transfer this afternoon and I accepted it. The new boss wants me to start on Monday, but he has to negotiate that with Janine. Friday's meeting is cancelled, but the senior HR person would like an hour of my time on Monday to discuss any feedback I have about my recent experience of HR. And now on to the update. I have a new job. So this doesn't fit the sub rules for an update, so I'll just park this here. I started in my new job today, but the rest of the team are in another building, and I probably won't physically join them until next week. I didn't want to post a proper update before now, in case there were last-minute hiccups. My new boss had to negotiate my start with Janine. Thursday afternoon, I was offered a transfer, and I accepted. This is part of the expected changes that I mentioned. I knew there was a review underway, and there might be some opportunities for me. I just wasn't expecting anything so soon. My new team are mostly the people I worked with on my award winner. Janine on Thursday said, I don't want you to go. Janine said on Friday, when are you moving? I have 2 new people starting Monday, and I need your desk. My new word to describe Janine is mercurial. I think it's a good one. Kara seemed genuinely sad I'm leaving, wished me all the best, and offered her help to make the move go smoothly. Everyone else in the team seems to be pretending the whole thing never happened. Not one word has been said about the lunch, my leave, the transfer, nothing. Friday morning's meeting was cancelled, but the senior HR guy asked for an hour of my time this morning to give feedback about my recent experiences with HR. I shared my concerns about some of the advice HR was giving. Part of our conversation involved a lot of read between the lines, but I'm fairly sure Janine has been spoken to. This is how it ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Thanks, T.S. Eliot. A few people have asked, nicely and not so nicely, how I could possibly feel that I was at fault here. I thought I might have been the asshole because I was out of step with how things were done in that team, but a lot of very kind people took time out of their day to share their professional knowledge and explain to me, in so many ways, how badly the team culture was out of step with normal. Compared to a few days ago, I feel like I understand so much more. Like, this wasn't even really about a restaurant. It was really about wanting a fairer division of the emotional labor in the team. Thank you all for helping me to see the bigger picture. I can see that I had become the soother of fragile nerves, solver of problems, and finder of solutions. Janine once said she liked me because I made bad things go away. At the time I thought she just meant work, but now I wonder if she depended on me for more than I knew. Looking forward, my partner and I have decided a nice Indian meal is in our near future. But we are being even more audacious and planning to take some leave later in the year and have an actual holiday together, travel restrictions willing. Finally, thank you to all the Redditors who shared their own knowledge and experiences of trauma and bad workplaces. It is an awful club to belong to, but we have the best members. And now in the comments, I am so pleased this worked out so well for you. The sheer nerve of HR wanting to know how your recent experiences of them went, they were worse than useless. Enjoy your new job. And OP replies, thanks so much. Things are already so much calmer. I think the request for feedback was manager speak for tell me how badly we sucked. At least that's how I interpreted it, and took the opportunity to tell him how wrong some of HR's advice was, since I have a captive audience. I'm sorry that it had to come down to this, but them pushing you to do something that you did not want to do to make somebody else happy, it's just a dangerous game to play, especially with food allergies. Be safe out there, and I wish you well with your new job. This is for the best, so you can get away from that weirdo Janine and her odd-behaving lackeys HR. And OP says, thank you. I'm doing pretty much the same work, just with less drama and soy sauce. I'm glad OP got transferred. I really do not understand what about Indian food rustled Janine's jimmies enough to scream at OP about it and trigger her PTSD. That seemed really bizarre to me. It seemed like just a textbook power trip. She was probably feeling insecure about OP getting a reward and a party, and decided to flex her dick to make sure OP still knew her place. I'm more confused about HR's terrible response to this. They handled this in the absolute worst way possible, and I hope OP was extremely honest with the senior HR members who wanted to talk to her, because the ones who initially handled it do not deserve their jobs. Your entire job as an HR employee is to prevent your company from being vulnerable to lawsuits, and they completely failed at that by trying to force someone to have a party at a location that could kill them because one person prefers the food there. What a wild ride over a lunch. Like, this is literally one meal in your life. How someone can't compromise for the sake of one meal, especially if it's not a meal for you but to celebrate your coworker, is beyond me. I don't particularly like Indian food, but it would never occur to me to insist that we would go to a different restaurant to celebrate a coworker. And that's where I'm going to leave the episode today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on the video, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.